everybody. We are broadcasting live from the center of a major storm right now. I hope everybody is doing great tonight. Thank you guys so much for being here. This is going to be a fantastic show, you guys. I was just backstage talking with Greg Howse, who is here, and Robby Raines, y'all. Robby Raines is back, and we are going to have such a great discussion tonight, and I hope that everybody is safe tonight. I know that we have a major storm ripping through the South right now, and it's gone through Mississippi, I think Missouri. I don't even know where it's gone. I haven't watched the news too much today, but it's been through Alabama. It hit Greg, and now it's hitting Georgia, where I am, and then it might be moving over to South Carolina, where Robby is. So we're all going to be affected by that a little bit tonight. And so you guys, I was about to say, I hope that my windows stay okay. You're going to know if it hits real hard, because hopefully we won't lose power tonight. But I have done some Jedi mind tricks with this storm, and it is not going to affect us. We're going to be just fine, y'all. So like I said, thank y'all so much for being here. We have a major Bigfoot conference coming up, and I hope you guys will join me. I'm going to be the keynote speaker at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference coming up next Saturday. I hope you guys will all join me there. It's going to be at Piedmont University in Demarest, Georgia, and it starts early in the morning and it goes until late in the afternoon. So hopefully you guys will come hang out with me. I'm not exactly sure when I speak, but I'm going to assume it's probably around lunchtime, either a little before or a little after. That's usually how I roll. Okay, so but come see me over there. And on Friday night, we do have a meet and greet at a distillery. Okay, so I'm not saying I'm going to be drinking or anything, but y'all can. Okay, so come out and see us. I think it's the Rose Distillery. I can't remember, the WC Rose, I think is how you say it. It's going to be at their distillery on Friday night, so that'll be a good time. And in years past 2 years, Robby Raines has come and joined me, and we have gone Bigfooting the night before that conference. So maybe I can trick him into going with me again this year. Okay, we'll see when Robby comes up tonight. But yeah, please come see me at that. It's going to be a great time. Also, if you guys would like to go through all my archives of all my shows, please go to my website. That's thecryptidhuntress.com. If you need to get in touch with me, there's a link there. Y'all just hit it. And I will try to get back with you. I'm really bad about that. But also, I do have a Patreon if you guys would like to support my work. And I do have a shop that's called War Woman Goods over on Etsy. So thank you guys so much for all your support. And I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Okay. Well, let's get to our show tonight, because we have a lot to talk about. And Greg is brand new to the Cryptid Huntress channel, and I can't wait to talk Bigfoot with him tonight. And I got to do full disclosure here. I was actually supposed to be out in the woods this weekend with my team, and we canceled just a few days ago. Right when we saw the storm was coming, the decision was made to cancel this trip, and thank goodness we did. Thank goodness, because there's nothing worse than being out during a tornado in the middle of the woods. I don't think Bigfoot's like tornadoes either. Okay, so they wouldn't be out there anyways. So my thoughts, my prayers go out to everybody who's being affected by the storm right now. And like I said, it's about to hit over here right now. So fingers crossed we make it through the whole show with no problems. Okay, well, let's get to this show tonight. All right, so let me go ahead and do a formal introduction, since Greg is brand new to the show. If you guys are familiar with WoodWalkerz, they have a fantastic YouTube channel, and they do meet and greets. Okay, and I'm going to talk about one of those meet and greets in a minute, because I was supposed to go to one of those just recently to meet my good friend Jeff Townsend, as a matter of fact. So Greg Howse is an elected peace officer out of Alabama. He's also the owner-operator of an air conditioning business as well. And I think he's a fireman, if I'm not mistaken, as well. And he shares his property with Bigfoots. Okay, and we're going to hear about that today. He's also a co-host of WoodWalkerz on YouTube. You guys, please go subscribe over at WoodWalkerz. And like I said, he does those meet and greets out in the Bigfoot. I was going to say infested. Okay, but that sounds like there's an issue with the Bigfoots. We go where the Bigfoots are, right? And so he goes and does the meet and greets wherever the Bigfoots are. Also, we have our good friend Robby Raines here, who is a police officer as well. And he had his first Bigfoot experience with a child. He is a co-host of DA Ex Machina Podcast. And shout out to DA. I hope that he gets up and running again over on his channel. But for a while, he is taking a little hiatus. I have Robby here again. You guys, please help me welcome to the show my illustrious co-host, Mr. Robby Raines. tonight. What's up, Robby?
How you? Jeff, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Let me introduce Mr. Greg Howse from WoodWalkerz. What's up, Greg?
How are y'all?
Good.
What up, Howse?
What's up? I got some heavy hitters on the show tonight, y'all. You guys are awesome. Greg, it is so nice to meet you. I don't think we've actually gotten to meet yet in person. So thank you for being here tonight.
I'm glad to be here. Appreciate the invite.
Thank you. Well, I know Robby, we saw you in the chat last week, and I had Robby here. I stole Robby away from his podcast last weekend. And how you been, Robby? Did you have a good week?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. Just working on book number 2, trying to get it out. And Greg's one of my Wolfpack readers. He's kind of drooling about the second one coming out. Ain't you, Greg?
Man, yeah. I can't wait till it gets released where everybody else can read it.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Hey, I've read part of your book, too, your first book, Robby, and it is fantastic. I am super impressed. Super impressed. But right now, y'all, I'm so sorry. I've got stuff hitting my house really hard right now. So,
wow.
I know, right? The storm has arrived right as we go live. But go, yeah. So, I'm sorry. I haven't been able to have time to read your entire book, Robby, but it is fantastic. What I have read so far is got me at the edge of my seat, for real.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
It does. I'm excited you're already working on number 2.
Yeah, I think the first one surprised Greg when I let him read it the first time. He was like, damn.
Yeah, I was greatly impressed. I mean, seriously. And that's what I told Robby backstage before we came on just now was my wife. My wife actually read it, and she sent me a message. She's like, okay, I just finished Robby's first book, and I'm like impressed severely. She said, I'm going to send him a message. I don't know if she sent you a message.
She did.
Yeah. She was like, and then she asked me,
I need chop. I said, I'm working on it.
Then she asked me, she said, okay, I know you know what the second book's about. I said, yeah, I'm reading it as he's writing it. She said, what's it about? I said, I'm not telling you. I said, that's private information. Well, you can tell me. I said, nope, not happening. So,
got to keep her in suspense. I was about to say suspense. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, okay. WoodWalkerz, man, what a great channel. You guys are always doing really cool stuff. I mean, these meet and greets. I got to tell you, Greg, I was headed to one of your last meet and greets.
Yeah.
And I got detoured. My GPS took me somewhere completely wrong. And I finally just gave up and turned around and had to go home.
Oh, man.
It was wild. I was actually waiting for Jeff Townsend was waiting for me to get there.
Yeah. Matter of fact, when you were on the way, Jeff was standing there by me at my camp.
Was he? Well, rest in peace to our good friend Jeff Townsend. He was a dear friend of mine, and he passed away. I think that was last week.
Yeah.
When that happened. So yes, Jeff has been a very good friend of mine for a long time, and I felt so bad I disappointed him. You know what's crazy is that the Bigfoots aren't just out right off the main road. We gotta drive down somewhere, out in the middle of nowhere to get to them. And I did not. I guess I just didn't get a good address before I left the house. I just assumed I could get there.
Yeah.
And my GPS took me on a place that said, I think it said White Oak. It said turn left on White Oak, and I turned, and it wasn't even a road. It wasn't even a road, just like a trail. I was like, man, this is really good because this is out in the middle of nowhere. And I ended up driving through a creek and stuff, and I was like, all right, this ain't good.
That's not good.
It was fun. It was fun though. It actually ended up being a great adventure. My son was crying a little bit, but I was like, look, kid, this is only making you tough, and it shows us that our truck will get through anything. And but anyways, yeah, I know that was a great event though. Everybody had a really good time, and I'm so sorry that I couldn't make it. I didn't get there, but I tried.
There was a lot of people had some activity while we were there. A lot of activity. I mean, it was really astonishing for a meet and greet with 100 plus people. I mean, we had activity pretty much every day that people were there.
I don't doubt it. Alabama is full of Bigfoots. Okay. I know from personal experience, Alabama is full of Bigfoots. I've gone out there Bigfooting for years. Okay. For years. I'm not too far from Alabama. Where I live sits on the line of Alabama, basically. And, places like Cheaha, Talladega National Forest, and I've even been up to Bankhead. Okay, and that Bankhead area is a really good place to go Bigfooting as well. There's a lot of stories that come out of that area of aggressive Bigfoots, Greg. Families of Bigfoots, like stuff it's almost like a Bigfoot sanctuary up there or something.
Yeah, I know more
about the aggressive Bigfoots.
Oh yeah, I've had plenty
of stories about that.
Plenty of aggressive encounters, and then it finally slowed down, and they didn't. I tell people I was too stubborn to let them run me off, and then I kind of accidentally made peace with them. And I mean, it was accident. What I did, I had no clue what they were going to do, but I was tired of them harassing me, and I was fixing to either provoke them. I mean, I was just going to see if I could elicit a different response than what I was getting. And it absolutely, totally diffused the situation instantly. And I'm still puzzled about it. I mean, really, I had no clue what I was doing. I was just going to do something. But it was me and one of my buddies that had a bunch of encounters with me because we've been buddies since we were kids. And he hunted with me a lot. But he had brought a friend of his that he worked with in Birmingham. And he asked me, he said, "Is it okay if I bring my buddy to come hunt with us?" I said, "Well, you know the drill. If he's going to hunt, you tell him what we deal with." He's like, "Man, do I have to?" I said, "Look, I'm not carrying anybody over here in the woods with us. And then something happened and, them find out that we knew stuff was happening and we refused to tell them." And he's like, "Man, do I have to?" I said, "Look, dude, he's more than welcome to come hunt, but you're going to tell him what goes on before we go in there." He's like, "Man, I've told him some stuff before, and he kind of poked fun at me, and he don't believe it." I said, "Well, brother, just because he don't believe it don't mean it ain't real." He said, "I know that." I said, "Look, if he wants to come hunt, you go ahead and tell him again. If he don't believe you, when he gets here, I'll tell him." Well, about a week later, they show up at my house, and I meet this guy for the first time. He'd been knowing my buddy for several years, and I just never met the boy. And this guy was a really good in the woods. I mean, he was a hunter. And we were at my house, and I asked him, I said, "Well, let's get our stuff ready, and we'll hit the woods here in just a little while." I said, "So Alan told you about what we deal with over there." And this dude just kind of looks at the ground and cuts his head and kind of smiles, shakes his head. I said, "Look, dude, I got it. If you don't believe it, I'm with you. I know what you're talking about. And I'm sure you're going to say that you've hunted your whole life and you've never seen nothing." He's like, "Yeah, man, I've spent a lot of time in the woods." I said, "I did too, till I finally started having encounters." I said, "Look, this is what we're dealing with, whether you believe it or not. If you want to go hunting, we'll go hunting." I said, "Odds are there's nothing going to happen. But I just want you to know if something happens, this is the way I want you to conduct yourself, and we will get you out of there." And this dude, he's still like looking at us like we got two heads, and each. And I'm like, "Dude, I'm just telling you." And I said, "Alan say anything to you about bringing a large caliber handgun?" He said, "Yeah, I got a Glock 40 cal, but I don't need it." I said, "Yeah, you go with us. Every responsible adult carries a large caliber handgun plus their hunting rifle." "Well, I'll carry it." I said, "Yeah, I want you to carry it. I want you to strap it on I said, "You got a holster?" "Yeah." I said, "Put it on your side." "Well, I won't need it." I said, "Look, dude, whether you need it or not, you're going to take it." All right. We go to the woods, and where I parked, you walked through this gate and you went straight, and it made a little bit of a bend, but it was about 200 yards to the field up on top of the hill. Well, when you went in, I told that boy, I said, "Look, he's going to peel off the road. It forks right here at the gate." I said, "I'm going to carry you off the mountain about 200 yards and put you in a lower green field. And then I'm going to go into the woods. It's about 70 yards down to the actual river. And then I've got a road that goes down the bank of the river around this property. I'm going to go down a couple of 100 yards from you." And the river was down, and the deer would actually swim across the river. It was a real good crossing. I said, "Look, dude, you can shoot any direction you want to. Any of us can, and there's no way we can hurt each other." I said, "But now listen, I'm going to put you in that stand, and I'm going to go on down, and I'll be back as it's getting dark." He said, "You're not going to stay till dark?" I said, "When I get back here to get you, we'll have enough time to be at the truck by the time we got to have a light. And he starts in of, well, man, I like to stay till it gets black dark. Man, you know, that's the deer move. Real. I said, no, I do too somewhere else, but not here. When it gets to where we got to have a light, we will be at my truck. Well, okay. So I watch it. I wait till he gets in the stand and then I walk on. I sit down there till right before dark and I started easing my way back. And I told the guy, I said, look, I'm going to come right back the same road that I'm going out. I'll be back. So do not shoot me, please. Now I've got an orange hat on. State of Alabama requires. Well, I get back, ease up, and I sneak up to the field. Well, I had to wait on him to get everything packed in his little, I called it his Scooby-Doo book bag. He's got a whole pouch of stuff. He climbs down, and I'm like looking at my watch and thinking, you know, man, it's fixing to be dark. Come on, dude. Well, he finally meanders and comes down, and we start walking. And it's up the side of a hill. I mean, it's steep. And you're going up about 200 yards, and then it flattens out. There's about 40 yards to my truck. Well, by the time we made this hike up there, I noticed that there's no light at the truck. There's my buddy Alan's not there. And we going up to the truck. I'm standing there by the hood between it and the gate. And I told that boy, I said, look, I said, he's like took his bag off and laid his gun up on my truck. And I said, look, dude, get your stuff, whatever you need. We got to go out there and get him. He said, oh, I'm sure he's okay. I said, no, we're going to go get him. He said, well, he's probably just staying in there. It's probably deer in the field. I said, no, we're going to go check on him. He's like, well, we'll give him a minute. I said, no, dude, we got to go get him. I said, he should have been out long before we were. It's level walking for him. I had to wait on you, and then we hiked up this mountain. Well, as I'm waiting on this guy over here kicking his feet and digging through his stuff, I hear some rocks kind of click. And I look, and the moon was just kind of getting to where you could see a little without a light. And I look, and it's about 40 yards from my truck to where this road kind of bends, and you can't see down it anymore to that green field. And I can see a reddish, orangish glow about big as my hand. And I'm like, what is that? And I could see it was moving. And it was down about waist high. And I can hear it like crunching rocks. And I'm trying to figure out what it is. Well, I'm focusing, and it gets a little closer, and I see this, my buddy Alan. He's got a Browning 7 Magnum bolt action, A-bolt. And he's holding it, it's pointing up behind him. He's got it in one hand, just kind of like got the scope leaning against his shoulder. And the orange glow, he's got a two AA mini mag light in his hand, and he's got it covered up. He's letting his fingers just a little crack where the light's coming through, and it's shining a little narrow spot at his feet. And the glow was his hand where the light was shining. And his buddy's going, what's that? Be quiet. Just be quiet. Now I'm trying to whisper. I'm like, be quiet. He sounds like he's learned to whisper in a sawmill. He's like, what is that? I said, shh, be quiet. Well, Alan gets on up there within, 40 feet maybe, and he stops. And he can see us, and he like turns his light off, and he like puts it in there, may not turned off, just like put it in his pocket. And he's holding his gun up, and he points at his ear, and he does this, like, listen over here, listen over here. And I'm over exaggerating, like, okay. He takes 2 or 3 steps, and he stops. And like I'm looking at him off to his right, my left, quartering behind him, I can hear something breaking limbs in this old cutover. And it's just a grown up jungle. He'd take 2 or 3 steps. That thing take 2 or 3 steps. Well, finally he gets on up a little closer to us, and finally I'm just like motion. I've got a semi-automatic Browning 30-06. I've got it laying in my arm, and I'm watching him. And finally I'm motioning like, come on. Well, he takes off walking real quick, and that thing comes behind him. And on the inside of that gate, there's about a 30-foot circle that I pushed out with a bulldozer to park. We never did park there because that gate always made a lot of racket, and I had enough room to park outside, so I just never used it. Alan comes across that opening, and he gets on the other side of the gate looking eye to eye at me. It's like a 16-foot cattle gate. I said, get over here. So he goes around the end. He walks up right beside me. So our backs are to the hood of my truck. I could reach out and touch the cattle gates. We had about a 3-foot gap. And he's out of breath. He is like breathing hard. His buddy's going, what is that? What is that? And we're both going, shut up. Just be, I told you what this is. Be quiet. And he's like, man, I don't believe that bull crap. Man, what is that? Y'all set me up. Man, y'all got somebody out there trying to scare me. This ain't funny. And he is just, and he's dogging on us, thinks that we're trying to scare him. I said, look, dude, shut up. I done told you. This is what we told you. This is what I was afraid was going to happen. Be quiet. Y'all, this thing is about 30, 35, we'll say less than 40 feet from where we're standing. This thing has come up. It's just across this opening, and there's no way the thing was over 5 feet into the brush. It's right there.
Wow.
And it's grumbling. It's and it's breaking limbs, and it's stomping. And it's not just totally upset yet, but this thing is not happy. And I'm asking Alan, I said, how long has it been following you? He said, well, it come in and it left, and I come down, and when I hit the ground, here it come. And man, it run up there he said, I got out in the field, it run up to the stand. And he said, man, it come around the field. He said, I just kept backing up. And he said, when I started walking down that road coming out, he said, man, it followed me all the way to right here. And we're standing there, and his buddy is losing his mind. He is like, who's got the keys? Who's got the truck keys? Open the door. We got to go. And it's starting to dwell on him that we don't have nobody over here breaking these limbs. We're in the middle of nowhere. And he started to say it on him, that's something that's real. I said, yeah, it's real, dude. That we told you this is what's going to happen. And I was to the point at this time, because I've been dealing with these things for many years. And I looked over at Alan. I said, are you ready? He's like, what are you going to do? I said, I'm fixing to try something. I said, but I want you to listen to me. I said, this rifle's got 5 shells in it. I said, if that thing busts out, I'm fixing to try to put 5 in his pumpkin. Talking about his head. I said, I'm going to put 5 in his pumpkin fast as I can pull his trigger. And I said, do not fire your gun till you hear number 5 go out of mine. That way, when my gun runs dry, I'm either going to jerk his .357 Magnum, or I'm going to be putting shells back in mine. And I looked at his buddy. I said, Alan's got 4 shells, so 5 and 4 is 9. When you hear Alan's 4th shell go off, you start shooting with your rifle. If that thing's still coming and you got time, you start putting rounds on it. He goes, my rifle's unloaded. I said, why is your gun unloaded? Well, I unloaded it before it come out of the stand. I said, pull that damn pistol out. So he jerks his pistol out. You could have heard it for 4 miles. He jerked it out of the hole. He jerks his pistol out and he's holding it. I said, look, dude, if I don't stop it and he don't stop it, you empty every round that you can into whatever comes out. And Alan's still like, what are you going to do? I said, just, I'm sitting here with my rifle and I've done spun it off and I'm holding it like this. And I'm looking and I raised my head back. And now look, I've heard the most prominent sound that I've heard these things make over the last 25 years was the whoop, W-H-O-O-P, whoop. I've heard that hundreds and hundreds of times. I've heard it from sound like a mile away to 20 feet away. I raised my head back and I done the longest and loudest whoop, W-H-O-O-P, that I could. This thing is less than 40 feet from us 3 guys standing there. That thing's grumbling and stomping and just kind of walking back and forth. When I did that whoop, it was like you had a giant remote control. Went blip and hit the mute button. Instantly, that thing stopped. It's just quiet. You got a pin drop. It just blip. Give it about 3, the count of 3 Mississippi. That thing went from grumbling and mumbling, stone cold quiet, and it sounded like an old fat man at Waffle House, and they told him that they was out of bacon. That thing lets out just like it was disgusted. It goes, huh. And I'm talking about loud, but it was just like somebody gave you bad news and you were really counting on something, just like, huh. It did that, and it sounded just like it turned around, and that thing started walking as dead away from us as it could across that old growed up cutover. It's breaking limbs. It's pulling. You can hear vines ripping. I know it was going through briars and honeysuckles. It's just tearing. It's not like just demolishing stuff, but it's just like it's just walking with no trail, just plowing through. We listened to it go out there at least 100 yards, and it stopped. And we're just sitting there, I know our mouth was gaped open, just like, and the thing goes up there and stops. It stays there for just a couple of, I don't know, we'll just say 20 seconds or so. It's just a short time. And you hear it, huh, and then it goes on, and it goes out of hearing. And we're sitting there straining our ears trying to hear it. And I looked at them, I said, it's gone. I said, we need to go. Well, look, we didn't have to coach his buddy into getting in the damn truck. As soon as I got the doors unlocked, he was like diving in the back seat. And he was like, blah, 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 blah. And he's going, my God, oh my God.
He's like, y'all set me up. Y'all set me up. How could you?
Yeah, he's going, what is it? What was that? I said, dude, I told you what it was. Alan's over there going, dude, I told you, he told you. Man, I don't believe in that. Man, what is that? Man, was that somebody down here? Y'all pulling a prank? I said, dude, we're serious as cancer eating a foot a minute. Look, that thing was there. What you just saw or witnessed, that's real. Brother, that's what we've been dealing with a long time. And he sits there this second. We're driving out this old log road. He goes, well, I'm going to tell y'all something. He said, there's something wrong with y'all. There's something wrong with both of y'all. I said, what? He said, y'all know shit like that over in these woods and y'all still going back. I said, well, brother, it don't got me yet. He said, man, there's something wrong with y'all. And he talked the 15 minutes to get to my house. We got to my house. He unloaded his stuff, got in his truck. He was ready to go. And then, look, that was the first time I ever met this guy. Well, then my buddy had told him that we have a big, like a organized dove hunt on my dad's farm. We'd usually have about 30 people. We found out about our dove hunt every year. Well, he wanted to come dove hunt. And look, this guy came for 7, 8 years in a row. After the first time I ever met him was when he got spooked over here. Well, the next fall, he came and dove hunted with us. And I asked him, I said, well, you know, when you dove hunt, you're in a big wide open field and there's 30 armed men around you or more. And I said, hey, dude, I said, you going to come back and deer hunt with me this year? He cut his eyes. He said, nope. I said, why? He said, I done told you, y'all crazy. There's something wrong with y'all. And look, every year that he would come hunt, it was a running joke. Was about I'd elbow Alan. I'd say, ask him. He'd say, Austin, you gonna come dove hunt with us? He just cut his eyes. We never did get him to go back in these woods. But from that day, here's the deal. Up till that day, I'd had many. I'm talking about many. If I told people, there's no way they'd believe what I told them. I'll just leave it with the phrase many. Encounters, bluff charge, stuff thrown at me, rocks, picture nuts, pine cones, sticks. About anything these things can hurl, I've had them thrown at me or close to me. I've been followed out of the woods. I've been chased out of the woods. I've been escorted out of the woods. I've had them cut me off to get to my truck on purpose. That's a bad feeling. These things didn't like me for a long time. Then it's like they got to where they accepted me there and they weren't as belligerent. I don't know if they figured out that to me, it was kind of like they figured out that I was there and I wasn't trying to harm them. So it's kind of like they tolerated me. But when I worked with them at that one, and it diffused the situation, I'm talking about instantly. That was the last time I've been bluff charged, and I've had them be belligerent. That was the last time. And it was, to us, it was kind of like, well, the gig's up. He knows what we are. You know, it ain't no way for him. And it's just like they gave up. But now, like where I'm sitting right here, I'm only a mile and a quarter or so from where all this happened. Now I don't hunt that property anymore because my cousin sold it, but I hunt the property a mile across the creek. So, or actually, it's not really a mile. It'd be about 3/8 of a mile from where we were at to the property that I hunt, but I don't really hunt on the end where it borders. I hunt kind of on the other side, but I've had many encounters on that property also. So, I mean, I've dealt with these things since 2020. So 2020 since 2000. I'll spit her out next. Since 2000, that's when I had my first encounter.
Dang.
And so I'm 25 years deep in this.
25 years. Well, it feels like, okay, so the phrase that came to my mind when you said after you did you yelled at him, basically, you did a whoop. You pulled the Uno reverse, as my son would say. You kind of pulled something on them they weren't expecting. Okay. And he kind of turned it on them. I feel like, in my experience, and I've been doing Bigfooting since about 2011. Okay. That's when I first started going out in the woods and just specifically to go Bigfooting. Okay. And researching them and stuff. And, it's, oh God, I'm sorry. I've got stuff hitting my house, y'all. So I kind of lost my train of thought there. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. They get to know you. Okay. And they get to know you a little bit. And that's why, Robby, I've actually taken Robby out to one of my spots twice, 2 years in a row. And Robby and I, we can kind of relate to what you're talking about here because we actually got surrounded by some Bigfoots. Definitely Bigfoots the first year. Second year, I'm not sure what it was. It was Bigfoot or something. And there's the point to where there's something about it could block you between you and your vehicle or whatever. You need to get back to your vehicle. They're fine with me out there. I feel like I've never had a problem with the Bigfoots out there since I've been going since 2011 to the same spot. But when I introduce somebody new, like you introduce that guy out there, I mean, that's your family's property, right? You've been going there for a long time. That guy had never been there hunting before. Yep. I don't think they like strangers.
Oh, I know they don't. I know for 100% they don't. Because sometimes when I'd carry somebody different with me, if they didn't act up while they were there, when I went back the next trip, they would act up. It's like they would hold off sometimes when you had somebody new in the crowd, but when you came back, it was like they let you know that they didn't like that you brought somebody. So
exactly. Well, I think we got off scot-free that first year, Robby. What do you think? And got out of there. But the second year wasn't so easy. We kind of ran. We didn't run, but we got out of there quick.
About year two, I still don't think that was a Bigfoot or Bigfoot. Plural, however you pluralize that, but I just because it felt totally different. It didn't feel like anything that I've ever experienced. It other than when we were at the meet and greet that time, I told you it happened at the LBL, Greg.
Yeah,
that's the other. I told you I had that feeling one other time. It was when I was with her in Georgia.
Wow, Georgia's got some spooky stuff, y'all.
It does. We got a lot of Bigfoots in Georgia, but Alabama's got just as many, if not more. Okay. North Georgia mountains and the mountains of Alabama are filled with Bigfoots. I can tell you that from experience. And Justin says that Howse lives in Booger, HOA.
Yes.
Anything he does they don't like, they'll let him know about it. Oh my gosh. That is hilarious.
Well, I'll just tell y'all this. Coonbo, I'm sure most of you people's gonna know who Coonbo is. Coonbo came over Thursday here to my man cave and hung out with me. I actually spent the night. Me and him was here at my man cave just hanging out. We went in boogering. I mean, we had some people came over that were actually boogering in the bankhead. They come by here and I fed them supper. I smoked a bunch of meat on my barbecue grill. And I told them, I said, if y'all want to hang out with me, we'll go out here and sit on my big back porch and just talk, just like what we're talking right now. We're not boogering. We're just talking. We're just going to be, first off, I've got all this pork on. I put 20 pounds of pork on the smoker and smoked it. Cooked a bunch of vegetables and stuff. And, you got like 10 people on my back porch. Everybody's eating. Everybody's talking. They're laughing. They're cutting up. A bunch of different vehicles out here. And I told them, I said, look, if y'all just hang out, stay for several hours, we'll sit out here. We're not doing anything. We're not calling. I never call anything here. I don't try to elicit anything. I just try to live my life, and I get all the encounters that I want. Anyway, there was a little storm came through. The guys that was here, one of them had to leave and go back to Anniston, which was Wendell Mosley. Wendell was here. Emma Murdoch, he was here, him and his girlfriend, and then another couple from Kentucky. Well, all of them decided they better go check on camp, so they left. They left about, I guess, around 8 o'clock. And I told Kumbo when we got back inside, me and him just come back here. And we were just talking. I mean, we're just two buddies hanging out. We're not discussing Bigfoot. Believe it or not, y'all, we don't just sit and talk Bigfoot. We talk about work, fishing, hunting, whatever.
You got other things to do besides Bigfoot all the time, right?
Yeah.
I know.
But where I'm at, this is a double recliner. I'm sitting on the left side. Kumbo's on the right side, and I'm sitting in a big recliner. We're 3 foot apart. Well, on the other side of me is my big door that goes on my porch. And then I've got a solid glass storm door. The interior door was open. The storm door was closed. 1 o'clock a.m. Friday morning. Kumbo's sitting there. He's turned like this talking to me, and I'm turned talking to him. So we're face to face 3 feet. He's in mid-sentence talking about something where he used to work. And I see him, we're focused. We're locked, eyes to eye. And I see his head jerk, and he jerks and leans and goes, "Oh shit." And I whoop around and look behind me, and I'm looking at the door. And I look back at him. I said, "What was it?" He said, "It just straight by your porch." I said, "What?" He said, "I don't think it was just huge, but I don't know if that was a person, bug, or what, but it was upright and it just blew by your porch like a blur." He said, and what it was, I've got a silver Dodge Nitro that sits out here. I do service calls out of it. And that silver car and the porch light hitting it, it's bright. Well, it blocked, he saw it go by that vehicle. The vehicle's only like 6 feet from the porch. So it ran right by the porch. Well, that's where my smoker is. And then I've got my propane tank where they usually come up at. It was going that way. Well, I told him, I said, "Dude, that ain't nobody." So I fold my recliner up. He folds that one up. We walk over. Me and Kumbo standing side by side looking through the glass, trying to figure out if there's anything out there. So we ease the door and ease it open, and me and him step out on the porch, and we're listening. Stand there a couple of minutes. I told him, I said, "Well, if it's still out here, it ain't going to make no racket right now. Let's go back in." So we go back in here. I shut the glass door, leave the big door open. I go in here and go in the kitchen. I told him, I said, "Look, dude, that thing probably knock on the cabin here in a minute." He said, "It may do it." Well, I go in there. I said, "Dude, I'm going to get some coffee and a snack." So I go in there and I'm getting out some Oreo cookies and a cup of coffee. Well, he walks right here. Kumbo walks right here to the door open, and he's just standing there. Well, as I'm getting my coffee, he goes back over to the glass door. And I'm thinking, I'm pouring my coffee. I'm thinking, well, he's just going over to look. Well, I hear the latch. He opens the door and he steps out on the porch. Well, I turn around. I'm getting out some cookies. Well, just a couple of seconds, I hear probably 15, 20 seconds, I hear the door shut again. And I hear Kumbo walking across. He comes in here to the kitchen. He said, "That wasn't a good idea." I said, "What? What was you doing?" He said, "Well, I was going to go there and pee off your porch." He said, "But I figured out that wasn't a good idea." I said, "Why?" He said, "Right there where you get propane tank is." I said, "Yeah." He said, "I got a deep, low growl from the propane tank." He said, "I thought, well, that thing probably don't want me out here on the porch taking a leak." He said, "So I'm fixing to go in the bathroom here and take a leak." So he would not pay off. He went in the bathroom, took a leak, come back out. We left the door. I told him, I said, "Look, I'm going to actually shut the inside door, and we're going to see if it'll come up, mess around with the porch, or push on the wall or hit the wall." So we didn't have anything else happen. We didn't have anything happen. But that was not for life.
That was very recent. Now, okay, well, obviously you probably kind of lured them in, not that you meant to, but with you cooking that pork, okay, they're going to love that smell. Have you ever, I know you've talked to Flat Rock before. I think Flat Rock was telling me before about how he had left on his back porch. They'd been licking out of the grease trap of his grill, right?
Yeah, I had them drink about 3 gallons of peanut oil out of my fish cooker, sitting on my porch.
Wow.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, I've got a 10-gallon Bayou cooker cast iron pot that's massive, big, massive pot in a stand burner under it. We had about 16 people right here on this porch, had a fish fry. I'm talking about we had scallops, clam strips, we had crab cakes, catfish fillets. We had a spread, French fries, onion rings, all of it. All right. I had about 16, 18 people. Now, look, these folks were nothing to do with Bigfoot researchers. It's just friends and family was here. That was on a Saturday night. I had people stayed about 1 o'clock in the morning. We got done frying all the food by 7:30. Well, when you've got 7 gallons of peanut oil in this 10-gallon pot, that stuff stays, when you cut the burner off, it stays hot for hours. It's got a big, thick aluminum lid. It's like this big with a wooden handle. I just covered it up. It's sitting at the end of my picnic table. I got a 12-foot big wooden treated lumber picnic table on my big covered back porch. All right. We had put the cardboard that came around the 5-gallon jugs of peanut oil on the ground for like when we're dipping the fish and stuff out to not drip cooking oil on all the treated lumber. Well, when I got done cooking and I put the lid on it, my wife folded that cardboard up and put it in a garbage bag to take the haul off. That oil sat there that night with that lid on it. We got done eating. We cleaned up, put everything in the big metal garbage cans, pulled the bags, and we left. I came back over here on Sunday with intentions of taking a little rubber tube and siphoning that oil down till it got down to the bottom where it was murky, and you can reuse the oil. Well, I ain't gonna lie, I was a little bit lazy. I didn't want to, was up late, and I thought that oil's fine. It ain't hurt nothing. I'll do it tomorrow. Look, that Sunday evening, we done that Saturday. That Sunday, the oil's there, the lid's on, everything's dandy. So I leave it. Well, I come back that Monday the next day. I go around, come up the ramp on that porch, and when I hit the top of the ramp, I look about 10 feet. The lid has been picked up off of this cooker. Now, the cooker likes probably 12 inches, being as tall as the picnic table. That lid has been moved approximately 8 feet, and it's sitting in the very center of that picnic table with the handle up, sitting down. I look over in that big wash pot, that cast iron pot, and the sides come down straight, and then it makes the, when it comes from a rounded part, then it's kind of a straight sidewall. That oil liked about probably 6 inches being to the top.
Oh my God.
When I look over in at that peanut oil, it was dropped about that far. It was plumb past the straight up sidewalls into the rounded part of that bowl. The best I could figure, there was at least 3 gallons of cooking oil gone. There was not a drop of oil on the wooden floor anywhere. There was no mess. There was no nothing. Okay, if a dog done it, I got that. All he's going to do is push the lid off, stick his mouth in there, drink it, probably get out, swing his head. A coon, anything like that, I would have had if a coon fell in there, he might have drowned it. I don't know, because this is a big old pot with all that oil. But y'all, that oil was gone. And that's all I can come up with that got it, is something got up there and drank that oil out of that pot. And
it had flavor to it, right? I mean, it had some flavor to it. I mean, that would have made any one of us sick as a dog. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I would hate to be those Bigfoots, but I mean, maybe it's a delicacy. They may not have the same kind of digestive system that us humans have, even though they might be part human. I don't know.
Now, I want to apologize because I get derailed on all these side stories, and I hadn't even told you about the boogers I have seen.
I love it.
I'm going off on stuff that just happened or what I've had.
We go off the rails every time.
You're being normal.
This is normal for us, Greg.
But I'm gonna tell you, he ain't got excited yet because his hands ain't started going. Just wait.
I've been trying to keep my arms excited.
He gets excited, them hands will start going.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell you, there's some of the encounters that I've had that it's really sometimes not fun for me to retell them because it's hard for me not to go right back in them, and it's not good. So yeah.
Well, my goodness. Well, most of the accounts that you've had, most of these encounters have been on your family's property, right? Like a lot of them. But you also go out and you go to like national parks and things like that too. Y'all are those meet and greets. And
see, I got lucky. I feel like I hit the super lotto when I finally did get introduced to like actual researchers in the Bigfoot world. Because Leanne, look, that's one of the stories that gets me, Leanne. We'll say.
There's several people that have asked about your motorcycle story, so I was going to ask you about that.
Well, let me just tell you how I got into this. My cousin had this property, and he'd had the timber cut on it a few years before I hit him up about letting me hunt that property. It was just a 40-acre piece, a parcel, and it was across the river from where we used to hunt all the time. And I hit him up. I thought, well, it's surrounded by a lot of government land, and I can go in there and build some green fields, and I can draw a lot of deer. There's really great opportunity, and I killed a lot of good deer over there. But we set up the property, and I built, cleared out some roads, built some green fields, and me and my dad started hunting it. The very first time that I hunted it, I had an encounter. I had a booger knock a tree within 20 yards of the field I was in. There's no way it was over 85 yards from where I was sitting. I mean, it sounded like Babe Ruth was exploding a hickory ball bat. And I was mad. I thought somebody was messing with me, trying to run me off or mess my hunt up. And my dad was with me. My dad was in the other field. And when I came out, I said, "Did you see anything?" He said, "No." He said, "No, you didn't." I said, "What?" He said, "What was you doing down there?" I said, "I wasn't doing nothing. Somebody messed me up. I don't know who it is, but I'm going to find out." The road went on down past us and dead ended. We drove down there, and I was fully expecting to find a vehicle. There was nobody. And in the first year, it was several times we would hear tree knocks and whoops. And every now and then you hear a few whistles. Then the second year, it got worse. We got to hearing a lot more whistles, a lot more whoops, a lot more tree knocks. And by the third year, we was getting growled out, and we were and multiple times getting followed out. We didn't really start getting stuff thrown at us till probably about the fourth year or so. And it just started ramping up. And they got to where they were bluff charging us. Everybody says, "Oh, boogers will throw stuff at you, but they won't hit you." That's a lie. I got hit in the back of the neck right here with a hickory nut, and it bounced off my neck, went straight up, and came down, and landed on my rifle.
That hit you hard.
The thing about it, there was only about 4 trees there that was big enough to put a ladder stand on. Everything else was like, when I was in the ladder stand, didn't even hardly come up to my feet. And there was not a hickory tree above my head. Nothing. It was all like oaks and poplars. I don't know where the nearest hickory tree was, but it dang sure wasn't hanging over my head. But this hickory nut still had the big hole on it. The first one came by, and it went by my head and went out in the field and bounced a few times. And I'm like, "What?" I didn't move my head. I just cut my eyes. I heard it go by my head. And I looked, and I seen it bounce. And by the time I thought, "What was that?" And I'm sitting there trying to plot. And by the time I figured out that was a hickory nut, that thing hit me on the back of the neck, hit me right there, and bounced straight up and come down and landed. It hit on my rifle and landed in my lap. And that's when I decided, well, I'm probably not welcome in here. And no, I mean, it got worse and worse and worse. And it got to where over the years, we would have shoot a deer. Now, I mean, look, I hunt a lot. I grew up hunting. I've hunted a lot in my life. I've killed a lot of deer. I'm talking about I've killed a lot of deer. And I've shot deer that were dead. I'm talking about shoot them fall in the field, or shoot them and them run just a short distance. I'd climb down, go out there, follow the blood, walk to the deer, lay hands on it. I'm talking about grab its horns, pick its head up, look at the horns. The deer's not breathing, its tongue's hanging out, gaping hole in its side, lay it down, walk out of the woods, go 200 yards to get my truck, turn around and drive right back, not big on 10 minutes, get back, and that deer's it's like an eagle toted it off.
It's gone.
No drag marks, no blood trail. The deer would be like it was picked up and toted off. One of the ones that happened to us, and that's on the property across the creek, Tal Bronco, Bill White. I met Bill White by accident. He stopped at a local restaurant, had his Bigfoot hat on. A friend of mine was a waitress. Said something to him about like your hat, whatever, and Bill said something to her about, if she'd heard any reports. She said, well, there's a guy, one of my husband's friends, he's had some stuff, but he believes that's what it is. He said, oh, really? He said, you know his name, number? She said, yeah, I gave it to him. Bill White calls me out of the blue. Says, I hear you've had some encounters. I said, man, buddy, I've had something. Within 30 minutes, that man was sitting on my front porch talking to me, and we talked for 3 hours. That was the first legitimate researcher that I'd ever talked to, period. Never met one. And then thanks to Bill White, he's the one that introduced me to people like Coonbo Baker and Troy Allen. And, I owe just a massive debt of gratitude to Bill, bless his heart, and I hope he's resting in peace. Bill did a book. It's called Southern Bigfoot Files, Alabama. And in that book, there's a couple of mine and my dad's encounters with Bigfoot, and it talks about my first sighting that I had. And I had dealt with these things for about 9 years before I ever could lay eyes on one. And it was a fluke, the one that I saw. The thing I was in a truck driving down the road, and the thing stepped out of the woods on the side.
Oh, wow.
And I got a road crossing sighting, and that's what a lot of people want. And that's the sighting I would recommend, because it's not near as heart pounding as when you're in the woods and see it and you're standing on the ground. But that one stepped out. I watched this thing at probably approximate 300 yards step out of the tree line, and I thought it was a hunter. It's a long way, and it was black, solid black, head to toe. It stepped out of the pond thicket, and when it stepped out, I got the side profile of its left side. And about the time I thought, dadgummit, there's somebody hunting, and I'm having to work, because back then I worked at a propane company, and I was having to work on that Saturday. And instead of being off work, and it was January the 29th, 2009, 11:30 in the morning. I'm looking at that thing, and like I said, I've done been dealing with these things for 9 years. Done met Bill White, been knowing him for a couple of years, but I couldn't lay eyes on one. I'm looking at the far end of the road went down and made a turn. It's 2-lane blacktop road, nice road, county highway. The thing steps out on the right side. And when it steps out, I've got that left side profile view. And the thing steps out, and all of a sudden it turns straight at me. It's facing me. And I watch this thing compress. It was like it went from this big, it just shrunk. And it just like bulged out. I see its arms like bow out, its knees bow out. And this thing just like shrunk, like you just squished it.
Wow.
And when it done that, it was like it froze. And it just, to me, it would be like, oh crap, I'm caught. And the thing takes this long step to go back in the woods where it came out of. And as I see its legs stretch and stop, I see its weight shift, and it like just sways. And it's like, to me, it had the thought of, oh, heck with it, I can make it. And I watch this thing pivot back toward the highway. And when it spins around, this thing launches. It jumps. It spins. It's like it's standing, and it jumps. I watched this thing travel 20 plus feet horizontal over 5 foot elevation and lands in the highway. It didn't like run up this bank of the road. No, it jumped. It didn't like stretch. It just jumped, looked like, and I told people I was waiting on the bionic man, the whoa, because that's what I see is this thing launches. And when that thing hit the ground, it hit on the pavement, and it didn't go straight across the road. It went kind of diagonal, and it was angling toward me. So it made its distance on the highway a lot further. I watched this thing basically glide. Now the legs look like a blur. I'm talking about look like a blur. But the torso from its hips up was it's just like it's floating. And when it gets to the other side of the road, it's like its stride just got a little bit bigger. and that thing covered about a 12 or 14 foot leap. And it's just like its legs just got a little bit more, just blip. And I watch it go under a power line. The road and the power line right away was side by side. And the power company had that fall had bush hogged and cleared everything under that. And there was a power pole, and there at that curve, the power line turned. So there's some guy wires that come down that hold that power pole. Or they had bush hogged around where that wire anchor went in the ground. They left a wad of bushes that went up and bushed out, just on privet edges. And that thing ran between the power pole and the wire, the guy wire. It ran kind of between them. And where those bushes bushed out, that thing liked about that much. We'll say 16, 18 inches, maybe, being as tall as the tallest leaves on that bush. We went back and measured, and that bush was like 10'2" or 10'4" tall.
Wow.
So that put it 8 to 8.5 feet conservatively. All right. And by going by the height, from outside of shoulder to outside of shoulder, had to be 4 feet wide. And from its sternum to the center of its back, had to be 2 foot or thicker. This thing had arms like big as my torso, and its legs looked like a kitchen trash can. It looked like it was running on trash cans in its thighs.
Oh my!
I'm talking about massive,
Sturdy.
Oh yeah, and look, people talk about how they'll see one and it looked like a wrestler or a pro ball player, and it went, or a bodybuilder. It goes down narrow at the waist. No, not what I've seen. I've seen 4, and all 4 of the ones I've seen, no, they look like just massive all the way down. And my wife laughs at me because I say, look, they look like they got a dang badonka butt. I mean, they absolutely like comes down the back and it
booty.
It tucked like a big booty on it. And but like when I watched it leap up in the road, I could see. Now look, I'm talking about the sunlight's hitting. It's 11:30 in the daytime. Sun's hitting it, and that thing is so jet black. Look, if you look in your house, the blackest black thing you can find ain't black enough. Mm-hmm. I don't care if it's metal, painted, plastic. The blackest thing in your house ain't that black. It was so black, it looked like the sun was absorbing into this thing. And when it would move, I could see the muscles like bulge, like when its arms are moving. I could see the muscles flex, and especially on the thighs and like it's all the way around its thighs, because as the light's hitting the hair on this thing, the hair was so, it looked like you had took polish and like beard, like my beard oil, and just drenched this thing. It was just shiny, like a sheen to it. But the light was reflecting off of it, and it made it look like it was gray or silver. But, I mean, you could tell it was solid black, but it was like where the muscles are moving. It looked like the gray was like moving around, as it would expand and contract. So I watched this thing cross this, jump from down in the ditch, up in the road, run across the road, another ditch, and it ran under that fire line, and then a blackberry briar thicket. Now, I know you living in Georgia, you know how blackberry briars grow up, and they'll grow up, and then they'll get long, and they'll fall over. Mm-hmm. And the briars on blackberries are like hooks. Well, you can't look, if you got on a pair of the best briar chaps that they make, you can't go through blackberry briars without just cutting and chopping and kicking, and they'll just, it's like a wall you're trying to push through.
Yeah.
I watched that thing run through a blackberry briar thicket, and the speed never changed. All right.
Man, they're tough. You gotta think about how tough their skin is. Mm-hmm. Way tougher than ours. I wouldn't make it through a briar patch.
When that thing went through those briars, where I'm looking at it, now like I said, I'm getting like a diagonal angle, and I'm watching it, and I can see the briars sticking up, but I can see its legs moving through the briars. But where the briars came up to this thing's waist. There was no briars from its waist up. That was black and clear going across those briars. When we went back that later, a couple hours later, because I called my dad, I said, look, you got to come over here, bring a tape measure, bring my 4-wheel drive truck. We're going to have to go up here. We got to measure this. Those blackberry briars. Now I'm 6'1". Those blackberry briars hit me about the center of my chest. The center of my chest would have been about that thing's waist. And y'all, I mean, it just unbelievable. And through that blackberry briar thicket where that thing went. Now look, back then, I'm still not a researcher. I look back now, if I'd been brave enough to go through them briars, the way that thing plowed through it, they was probably all kind of hair laying around. But I wasn't interested in that. I was just trying to figure out how big it was. But y'all, it absolutely, you're talking about a life-changing experience. And y'all, I mean, when I figured out what it was when it turned, and it dawned on me what it was when it swayed and it swayed back and pivoted. And I'd been doing these things for 9 years, and I'd had all these encounters. I couldn't see one. And everything was squeezed up into a big head. And when I saw it, and I figured out, and it clicked, because it was like a Rolodex in my head, like flashcards of pictures. And I'm like, gorilla, giraffe, polar bear, blah, blah, blah. It's like, look, like name that animal. And I don't have anything for it to correspond with. And then it finally stops. That's a Bigfoot. Y'all, I had both hands on the steering wheel, and I'm leaning over it, and I've got my head right at the windshield, and I'm screaming. I'm screaming as loud as I can scream. And the words coming out of my mouth was, I see you, USOB. But I wasn't abbreviating it. And I was screaming it over and over and over again. And y'all, when I got to where it crossed the road, of course, it done hit the woods and was gone. And I stopped, cut the truck off, and I sat there. I had my phone in my hand, picked it up. I speed dialed Tal Bronco, Mr. Bill White. Now, Bill White investigated Bigfoot for over 60 years. I was still stuttering when I was telling him what just happened. That's how quick I reported my encounter to Mr. Bill White. So, but yeah, I've had a lot of encounters.
So you reported it too, though. You had enough wherewithal to call somebody to be like, hey, I saw this. Well, can I ask you a question? What about your family and your dad? I know Melissa's in the chat was saying, is your dad a knower? Okay, or a believer? Well, tell me about your family and how they accept or believe in Bigfoot out there.
All right. Well, here's the deal. My dad he grew up. We had a farm. We raised cows and goats, and we had a chicken farm. Dad worked a public job. He worked for Continental Can Company for 15 years down in Fairfield, Alabama, and drove an hour and 20 minutes one way back and forth to do that. Plus, like I said, we had that farm. And my dad spent a lot of time on the Warrior River. They used to commercial fish. Now up here where I live, when Dad moved up here, him and my mom, we still commercial fish. Like I said, we done anything you could think of to make money and pay for a farm. And my dad was one of the best hunters I've ever seen. My daddy could kill deer when nobody else could. And, I'm pretty dang good at it, but Daddy forgot more about killing deer than I ever learned. And we started dealing with these things. Dad really didn't want to believe it, just like I didn't want to believe it. But the more Dad encountered, he was like me. He couldn't explain it away. Well, then when I finally saw one, I'd tell Dad. And look, Dad he'd done heard the howls, the whoops. He'd been followed out, and he couldn't put it together. And, he was puzzled as I was. And I'm trying to explain to my daddy, look, this got to be Bigfoot. He's like, no. Which he was kind of open-minded like I was to, if we was in Falk, Arkansas and going west maybe, but we're in Alabama. Well, I'd let Dad off. I had leased some more land. It was on the same log road. I'd leased some land. I had 3 green fields on it. And we'd had encounters there too, because this wasn't but a half a mile from the other property. We had a bunch there. Well, anyway, Troy. Sorry about that. My buddy Troy Allen was calling. Anyway,
Troy.
anyway, I let Dad out, and I come back to get him. And like I said, I'd always pull up right with big truck before it got dark. Well, I'd let him out, and he'd walked about 150 yards out to a green field. And where that green field was, it was in a cutover, and there was absolutely no trees to put a stand. So we built a ground blind. It was just, we'd put up some sticks and put some camouflage burlap. We had a chair in it, and you could see it. And the green field was kind of to your left. And then there was like the old trail went on. It's kind of like a four-wheeler trail, went on past the field. It went down a swag and back up. And you could see it probably 100, 150 yards. And the deer were real bad about, they would cross that trail and then come around and come in the backside of the green field, or either come in the field and come in the green field, or into the trail into the green field. Well, I pulled up to get Dad, and he'd been in there hunting. I hadn't heard him shoot. And I pulled up. Well, he jerked the door up and got in real quick. He looks over at me. He said, well, I seen it. I said, what? He said, I seen you, booger man. I said, what'd you see? He said, well, I was sitting there, and he said about 30 minutes before dark. He said, I was looking down. He said, I was watching down that trail. And he said, over here, kind of my left peripheral vision out in the field, he said, I seen a bunch of birds get up and fly out of some bushes. And he said, you know, when you're deer hunting, especially if you're not in a enclosed area, you don't just turn your head, you just cut your eyes. You know, you leave your head still and you cut your eyes. He said, I cut my eyes over here. And he said, look, I thought, well, it's just birds. And he said, well, my eyes flowed back right into that road. He said, I saw it look like from the waist up, the torso up. He said, that thing was massive. Said it was black, covered in black hair. He said, it looked like it was that thick from its chest to its back. He said, I don't know how wide it was, but he said from his chest to his backbone, he said, I just got a profile. He said, it wasn't like that thing walked across the road. He said, it was just like it went, just like zoop, just like one stride. It crossed this road. Now, when I'm saying road, this thing was about 6 foot wide, because that's what we could bush hog. It was kind of like an old log road, but it all grown up, and I cut one trail with a 6 foot wide bush hog just so we could have a little extra shoot. Well, it was dark. I said, well, we'll go back tomorrow. I want to look. I said, I don't know if there's any tracks. That ground's real rocky, but I want to go back and see where it was. So he and I went back the next day. I told him, I said, you step back in that stand. I'm going to walk back over there. And when I get down that road where it's at, and I said, I'm going to be looking. I said, you know, like go on down or whoa, or come back. Or when I'm there, you know, go like right there. I walk down that road and I keep looking at him. And y'all, I'm probably not, best I can remember, probably 35, 40 yards. It ain't far. And he's like, whoa. Well, where I'm at, I went far enough that it started down in that, like off that swag. Well, he sits there, and I said, you know, like right here. He's like, yeah. He gets up, he comes walking over where I'm at. And sure enough, in the brush on each side of this old growed up thicket where this was, it was a real wide, like a game trail, but it was wide, tall, big. Dad hadn't walked down there. He didn't know what was down there. But when I stopped in that road, he stopped me exactly where that big trail was. He walks down there, and the ground was just pretty much solid rock, just old shelf rock stuff. All the topsoil washed off on that hill. And he said, you know what's funny? I said, what? He said, when I told you to stop, he said, I could only see you from about right here up. He said, I saw that thing from its waist up. He said, that thing was way bigger than I thought it was. I said, yeah, they're big. But anyway, there's a couple of our stories in that Tal Broncos book. Like I said, I don't know how a person could lay hands on a actual paperback copy, because they didn't produce a whole bunch of them. But you can go online and you can actually look it up and, you know, do a, what you call audio, or not audio book, but a online book. But yeah. I need to get the link there. It posted on WoodWalkerz.
Man, that's wild. So your dad actually saw one, and what do you call it, a booger man? He called it a booger man.
Yeah, that's what Daddy would call it, was booger man. But now look, Dad had a couple of deer that he killed that got cooked. I mean, 100% dead deer. I'm not talking about we shot them and couldn't, follow blood and couldn't find them. No, I'm talking about deer that we went to. They're dead. Let's go get the vehicle and go back, and the deer would be gone. That's a running deal with us. Is if we shoot deer over here and we have to go get a vehicle, we really don't do it. What we wind up doing is I'm calling somebody and say, "Hey, look, I got a deer down. Come over here, help me load it. I'm not going to leave it." And we don't. We absolutely don't leave them, and that's why. My wife killed a gorgeous 8-point. I mean, a nice one. I called it up with a grunt call, and I watched her shoot this deer. The end of her barrel, she was sitting on a stump. The end of her barrel was about 16 inches from the buck. It walked right to her, and I watched her shoot it through both front or both lungs, right behind the front shoulders. The deer went 30 yards and fell over dead as a biscuit. We walked out about 1/8 of a mile to get my Jeep, and went back, and the deer was gone. We just got out of sight of it good, but it was dead. I mean, I'm talking about 18-inch spread, horns that big, nice, beautiful, symmetric 8-point.
Greg, you guys are like the Uber. Y'all are like the Bigfoot Ubers, or not Ubers? Is it like Uber Eats?
Yeah.
They just go follow y'all around, and they just wait for y'all to shoot their food for that night, and they just take it. They're like, fast food, right?
I know I've got it. That don't get me wrong. I know that people probably hear especially I'll tell people about all the stuff I've had happen. But here's the thing: what I try to compare it to, and that's what just warms my soul, because there's so many of us in Alabama we have a lot of encounters because there's like a family group that stays close. Umbo's farm is, he's had boogers before he was born. He's 50 miles north of me. Where Mark Green's property is that he hunts is 105 miles south of me. And then you go on down, Dale Boswell's had a lot of stuff happen. He's only just a little distance below Mark.
I know Dale and Mark.
Yeah, well, then you go on down.
You're talking about.
You go on down to the Flat Rocks. Flat Rocks just a couple hours flowed up.
That's my dude right there.
Yes. Look, if you don't love Flat Rock, something's wrong with you.
That's right. 100%. I stand behind that comment you made there. Yes.
But that's the thing about it is look at all the stuff that Ken. I've talked to Ken a lot. Ken's been up here, and I know what Ken's going through. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know exactly what it's like. I know what he's going through. And I'll tell you this, I'll bet everything that I own that what Ken is telling everybody is absolute factual, the best he can tell it.
Oh, man. I mean, just the fact that you guys have there's so many of y'all out in Alabama that have had Bigfoot experiences. Everybody, y'all live out there. I'm friends with at least half the people that you just mentioned. Just then, and I've actually sat around the fire at least once or twice with a lot of those guys, and we've exchanged our stories. And of course, I don't give away all my spots on air, okay, with to the general public, because my team's out there doing research all the time out there. But I can say, everywhere that I've ever been in Alabama there's been something that has happened out there. Okay, get accosted at night by something, and something surrounds us all night, and we find prints the next morning around camp and stuff, like footprints and stuff. Even places where we thought that we were going to go out there and find dogmen, we ended up finding Bigfoot prints and stuff instead. So I mean, it's not just Bigfoot out there too, there's also dogmen in some of those areas. And a matter of fact, Greg, I got to tell you, an undisclosed location where we thought we were going out there to go investigate a dogman encounter. We were walking out. I didn't get a chance to tell you this whole story, but we were unloading our vehicles and getting ready to go hike in about 5 miles into this national park. And this man comes hiking out off this trail. This is in the middle of nowhere. Okay. And by my standards, I was in the middle of nowhere. Okay. And, but I was at this park, and this man comes hiking out, and he's holding this rock. And he's like, "Hey, y'all ever heard of, are y'all familiar with dragons?" We're like, and the guys were all sitting around like, okay, whatever. The guys didn't really pay attention to him, but I was like, "I know about dragons. What you got there?" And he goes, "Well, this is the wing of part of a wing of a dragon." He said, "I've been coming out to this place for years." He said he and his wife goes hiking down the trails, and he goes and cleans off his dragon. And he said, I'll tell you about it. I'll tell you about it when we're not on air. Okay, exactly where it's at. But because this is one of the places that my team researches. Okay. But he had this in his hand and he said, this is a piece of it. He said, are you familiar with like Mud Fossil University on YouTube? And I said, of course I am. And he said, well, I'd like to get this analyzed. I believe it's limestone. He said, he's like, you just go down this trail. You're going to walk right over its wing. He said, and you'll see it. And he actually ended up meeting us over there as we were hiking in. We had to walk over this dragon. And whether it's a dragon or not, I don't know. But I can tell you, it looked just like a dragon. The whole body made up the hillside. It was just the dragon's body. You could see from its head all the way down its back and the two wings, and even the tail. The tail in the back did that little windy thing. It was wild. And to say that was just super weird is an understatement, when we're hiking in to go look for dogmen. And by the way, we did get surrounded by Bigfoot while we were out there, but nonetheless, that's not, it might be in one of your stomping grounds out there. I'm just saying, lots of high strangeness out there.
Greg, note to self, pack for dragons.
Look, brother, I go pack for everything.
Pack for dragons?
Inside joke, you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly. Yes, sir. 100%. Oh, man, I don't know. It just, y'all, here's the thing, and this is something I really want to touch on. All this stuff was, I was oblivious to this in, say, 1999. I was living a normal, fairly normal life till all this fell in my lap. And the one thing about this that has absolutely blown me away, and that's not the Bigfoot. Now, don't get me wrong. That's top shelf, blowing you away when you realize these cryptids are here, and you've dealt with them. You've dealt with them over and over and over. But the thing that absolutely takes my breath away is the people that I've met. The quality, not just quantity, but quality of the people that are like family. It's unbelievable the way that I've met these people. The way they've been in my life and me and theirs, it's unreal. Like Spencer and Misty, from the first time that I talked to them, it was like I'd known them my whole life. And, I tell them that, we're like family. I mean, it's absolutely like family. And our meet and greets, I mean, where else are you going to have 120 to 140 people show up from all over the country? And I swear to you, it's like a family reunion. It's unbelievable at the quality of the people and how everybody is genuine and how people care about each other and help each other. It's unreal. And look, as far as Bigfoot, people's like, well, man, why don't you, if I was having stuff, man, I'd want proof and I'd want this and I'd want that. I don't care about that. I know what's real. I know what I've dealt with. I've had people come. Right there's one too. You talking about a brother, old Patrick Noble, man.
I know Patrick. He remote views sometimes. I know it. I see you, Patrick. I'm just kidding.
But yeah, it's just the quality of the people. I mean, I can't even explain it. Robby come to one of the meet and greets, and that's before I even knew who Robby was. And now I'm mad because I didn't get to talk to him much. He come to the LBL and hung out, and I was still sure enough crippled. I mean, I was still in a wheelchair where I broke my leg, so I couldn't get out and mingle with everybody. So, I mean, I was cooking food for everybody. That way they had to at least come get a plate of food. But it's unreal. And it's not, and I'm not taking away from conferences, but when people come to a conference, they're really limited on getting to talk to somebody or approach somebody. Mm-hmm. Come to the camp, you walk up, talk to whoever, and everybody's really super nice, and it's unreal.
That's why I speak at a lot of events, a lot of Bigfoot events, and I go to several Bigfoot events. I'm going to make it to your next meet and greet. I'm going to go.
Well,
okay?
You need to.
I'm coming. I tried to get to that last one, and you can ask my son. It was my fault. I should have gotten better direction before I left. Okay. But anyways, it's always an adventure over here in my world. But I speak at a lot of events, and one thing that I always do, and you can ask, I know Barry Littleton's in the chat tonight. Barry's with me at a lot of these stuff. And even you, Robby, you've been at some of those Bigfoot conferences with me. And I make it a point to talk to everybody if they want to come talk to me. Okay. Like I don't like going there and like talk and then I just leave. Okay. Like I actually get really tired by the end of those things. Cause I most people just want to come and exchange stories with you, and it's so important to fellowship with people and really I love being in the community and just meeting people face to face. I encourage everybody to go to events where there's people there. I mean, we're all on that same frequency. We're knowers. We've experienced it. Even if you hadn't known it, you're just curious about Bigfoot. It's a great place to go. I was actually telling my mom today, I was like, she was talking to some lady that at the store today. She went to the store and said something about me. I don't know. She said something about me being I don't know how I came up, y'all. My mom, I don't know how people bring me up. But anyway, she's talking to some lady about me being a Bigfooter and having a show, I guess. And the lady's like, well, we got Bigfoots right down here on this so-and-so road over here. We've had Bigfoots there for years. And I was thinking, I need to have like a Bigfoot town hall in my hometown. Do you know what I mean? Like just to bring people together. It's such a wonderful way to meet people and to learn about the Bigfoots around and stuff like that. But it's all about the community though. It really is. And we've got some wonderful people in this chat tonight, Greg and Robbie, some good friends of all of ours. Okay. You're in here. And that's what it's all about.
That's what I was looking. I mean, there's few names in there of people that I don't recognize, but there's a lot of them that I do. And look, I can't leave out my favorite. We call him our fourth wheel. But Roger Williams at Squatch and Holler, y'all. I mean, me and Misty and Spencer went from the 3 amigos to we're kind of like the 4 amigos with Roger now. So
Roger's awesome. That's Squatch and Holler, y'all. He's in here too. What's that, Roger? Thank you everybody for being here, by the way. Y'all are the best.
And then I got cahootsed up somewhat with Mr. D.A. Roberts and Mr. Robby Raines. And they kind of like took me in like a lost puppy, like everybody else did.
Well, I'm gonna take you under my wing over here at the Cryptid Hunters channel too, Greg. You are welcome here anytime, by the way.
Well, I appreciate it.
And look, Miss Phyllis is in here too. Miss Phyllis and John Lamb, they're in here. We've got everybody in here tonight. Okay, I see a lot of people. We're missing a few, but we got Phyllis here. I met Phyllis actually. Okay, so I met Phyllis and John at the East Alabama Bigfoot Town Hall. Okay. I love that. I went there just as a spectator last year. And I kind of snuck in there. I didn't tell anybody I was going. I just kind of showed up and got to hang out with MK Davis and Stacy Brown Jr. And Stacy's going to be with me next weekend at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference. I'm speaking there, so everybody better come see me at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference. But in Bigfoot and On, we had I mean, you name it. It is so wonderful. I just like to go to hang out with everybody. And Flat Rock's always at all these events too. Flat Rock is a dear friend. I love him to death, man.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. We're all running the same circles, but I just hadn't met you before, Greg.
I don't know how I hadn't. I mean, me and my wife and my daughter, we were over in Anniston last year. Now we got there kind of late up in the day and we just hung out front with, who all was there? Gary Spikes was there. Wendell was there. We just kind of hung out outside and with everybody, and then we went and ate. Matter of fact, we went and ate supper with a bunch of people after the conference was over. And,
oh yeah. Well, I didn't make it to that. I went to a Bigfoot conference in Oxford about 2 or 3 years, like 3 years ago, 4 years. I don't know. It's been a long time. But I was at the East Alabama. Was that? I don't know if that was in Anniston. That was in Oxford this past year. That's one that I went to. Was in Oxford, and it was at Smith Station the year before that, and that's one I went to with MK. MK was amazing. Gosh, he gives the best presentation. So yeah, we've got the Molina Bigfoot Festival coming up, everybody too. That's next month, and so that's down in Georgia, mid Georgia. So yeah, there's always. Can you believe all the Bigfoot events, y'all? Robbie, I mean, you're going to be at another event. Like you're going to the Ozarks Bigfoot thing.
Yeah, I'm going on. The end of next month, I'm going to Missouri for the it's an expedition. I'm teaching a tracking class, and DA and I'll be back in Ohio in October to that Spirit of the Forest festival. That's for a second year festival. It's already grown bigger than where she had it last year, so it was a really good one. They like you said, just meeting people and people want to come up and talk, and it's great. But speaking of the meet and greet, we've kind of talked about this back and forth between different shows. But we kind of talked about having something with all three of the channels. And
that includes me. I want to do it too.
That's why I said 3. WoodWalkerz.
And the Cryptid Hunters. We got a pretty good crowd over here that would definitely show up.
Greg, I don't know what. It's probably closer to you. I want to do something at Werewolf Springs. I would love to do something there.
Yeah, Werewolf Springs. That's actually up at Montgomery Bell State Park. And but they say that to get to where the werewolves were, you have to hike it's like 10 miles or something crazy. You can't go. You can only hike it.
We're gonna have to do like the A team used to do with BA to get Spencer in there. We're gonna have to do something to his milk to get him in there because he ain't gonna go willingly if he knows something about a Dogman being in there.
Robbie, I don't know what the appropriate mixture ratio of Benadryl and bourbon is, but we'd have to do something.
Did you just say Benadryl bourbon?
Yeah.
Oh Lord, I don't even know if I want to know about that.
Spencer no like Dogman.
No, not none.
Oh really?
No, he's a little timid when it comes to the Dogman stuff, ain't he, Greg?
Yeah, look, if you had a Chihuahua with a broke front leg, try to walk on his back leg, Spencer's out.
Is it Dogman?
Oh my gosh. Well, I honestly, I don't blame him. Dogmen have a bad reputation. Okay, so.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't want to part of them either. Oh.
Yeah. Larry Sharp, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, he has been a member of the Hunt Club. Y'all can become members of the Hunt Club, everybody, if you want to join my channel on YouTube. He said, "Happy Saturday, y'all, and prayers." Larry's from Alabama too, Greg.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know Larry?
I've seen Mr. Sharp on there.
Okay. What's up, Larry? Thank you for being a member for 11 months. You got one more to make it to a year. I'm so excited. It's going to be your birthday, your membership birthday. Yeah, Larry's awesome. Actually, when I was on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie, okay, a little while back, and at the end of the show, after all those commercials, my God, y'all, there's a lot of commercials on that show. And no shade, okay. I was just happy to be there, but they had a call in, and Larry Sharp was one of the callers, and I was so happy. I didn't know it was him at the time, but that made me feel so good. I was like, that's my buddy Larry. So Thank you, Larry Sharp from Alabama.
So look like Bigfoot Dwarf on there. I was watching his podcast about a week ago.
What's up, Bigfoot Dwarf? That's my buddy BD. He's in the chat. He's one of my moderators actually, and Bigfoot Dwarf, Brown Dwarf. He's got some. He's a Bigfooter out of California, Oregon, and he's hiked up to Bluff Creek before too. And actually, the way that you were describing, Greg, that Bigfoot, with how its muscles were showing and its hair was shining and it, looked all nice and sleek and oily, like it just got oiled down a little bit with its beard oil. It kind of reminded me of Patty a little bit.
That's what I was going to tell you. Look, look, you throw all the other arguments I can make with people about Patty being real. I can throw that out. And I mean, look, there's enough evidence on Patty that you could convict somebody of murder. But look, the boogers that I've seen, from what I've seen with my own eyes, Patty is real. That's absolutely real, because what I've seen right here, they may not be identical, but they're way similar enough to be that Patty's real. Now, I'm telling you, 100% straight up. But yeah, that's what I've dealt with here would be the top ones. Now, I do get a lot of reports. Kimbo gets a lot of reports of top 2, but what I've dealt with is all been what people call the top 1, the Patterson top.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think I have a chart right here for people. I mean, most of my crowd knows just what the different categories are of all the Bigfoots, but I've got this little chart that I like to show right here with, the type 1, 2, 3, 4, and type. I think Patty would be the one. The type 4 actually is more like a Neanderthal kind of, I guess, like a. Type 3 are the Gugways, y'all. Type 2 are the more ape-like, but Patty would have been a type 1, even though I don't know. That's not as good of a chart as I usually show. So that's one of my old charts. You don't want to mess with those type. What is it? The type 3, the Gugwe kind. Oh my God, the face eaters. Y'all watch out for those. Yeah, I have my suspicions actually. Those up at that place in Alabama, undisclosed location. where we had we went for the Dogman investigation. I'm not convinced that maybe they weren't I'm not just gonna say they weren't dogmen that my friends encountered, but we had more of a Bigfoot encounter, but maybe they were like a Gugwe, like a muzzled type of a Bigfoot out there. Now, do y'all get reports of that out there in your part of Alabama?
Yeah, I had a guy that was his family had been loggers. They cut pulpwood, cut trees for forever. And this old boy, he's I guess he's 2 years younger than me. I went through high school with him. It's been about 10 years ago. So this guy would have probably been 37, 38 years old then, maybe close to 40. I mean, I'm guessing approximate times, but it's been a few years back. He came up to me. He said, man, I want to talk to you. Now I'm in a Dollar General. He said, man, I need to talk to you. I'm like, what do you got? Man, he's like looking around. Man, I don't talk in here. You know, maybe in law enforcement, I'm thinking, well, okay, he's going to rat somebody out about some drugs or selling dope or something. He's going to tell on somebody he won't get in trouble. I said, well, all right, dude. I said, look, let me pay for my stuff. I'll be out there in a minute. You saw my truck in the parking lot. Yeah, I'll just wait on you out there.
The Bigfoot confidential informant.
Yeah, I mean, this is what it wound up doing. I went and paid for my stuff and went outside and get to my truck, opened the door, set my bag in. He's standing there waiting. He lights up a cigarette. I said, what do you want to talk about? He said, man, they're like him on, you know, man, I said, Dave, spit it out. What do you want me to know? He's like, man, somebody told me that I could talk to you about them booger man. I'm like, I did not see this conversation going here. I said, what are you talking about? He said, man, me and the old lady said we was over there in the forest about 3 days ago. So we was riding around. He said, man, you know, I like to get over there and we'll go around them old roads and them skidder trails and the fire lanes. He said, you know, I like to pick up artifacts. I'm like, Dave, you know it's illegal. Man, I know, you know, but man, that's what we're doing. I said, well, okay, what did you see? Did you see something out there? Well, we come out, we stayed over at about dark, and we just riding around, just chilling, and had the windows down. The weather was nice. He said, man, he told me exactly where it was. I mean, you cross this one bridge going to a certain place. And I said, yeah, you go up top of the hill and you got a straightaway. He said, yeah, man. I said, you know that straightaway goes down there and said it makes that turn. I said, yeah. I said, that straightaway is about 250, 300 yards, probably close to 300. I said, yeah. He said, man, we come up that hill and said on the far end of that. He said, I couldn't figure out what it was. He said, on each side of the road. He said, man, it looked like them old driveway reflectors, them round ones on that little fiberglass pole. He said, there's one on each side of the road. He said, I can tell it's up off the ground pretty high. And he said, they were blue. He said, I'm talking about blue. He said, my woman asked me, said, what is that? He said, I don't know. Said, somebody's put some reflectors up or something. He said, as we was going there, he said it was like they would go off and on. He said, I thought it was probably us moving, you know, getting in the way. He said, I got on pretty close to it. And he said, dude, I got within like 20, 25 yards. And he said, these things wasn't like way off the road. He said, these things were like 5-6 foot of the road, one on each side. I said, well, what was it? He said, man, all I can tell you is the damn thing was huge. He said, they was way over 8 foot tall. And he said, I'm talking about massive. I said, was it a Bigfoot? He said, man, I don't think so. I said, what do you mean? He said, man, these things had like a muzzle on them, had pointed ears. He said, I don't know what the hell it was. He said, but by God, said, when I got up there, he said, I was seeing that one eye, but said they turned and looked. He said, look, both of them turned and looked at his truck. I said, what'd you do? He said, man, I'm about passed out. He said, I stopped. He said, I pulled his dimmer back where it was bright and dim both. And he said, man, it really lit them up. I said, well, what did they do? He said, they stood there just a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds. And he said, the things are facing each other. He said, they turned toward me and then turned their back to each other and said, one went this way and one went that way. So they walked off into the woods and left.
Wow.
I said, what'd you do? He said, we got the hell out of there. He said, I'm talking about we went to the house. He said, man, what is them things? What is them things? He said, that wasn't nobody in no suit. He said, man, I've growed my whole life, spent my whole life over here cutting timber. He said, I've worked my whole life with my daddy over here cutting timber since I was a little kid. I ain't never seen nothing like that. He said, what do you know about them? I said, dude, I ain't dealt with them. I said, I've dealt with normal people. I said, dude, what you're dealing with, I don't want no part of. I said, I really don't know a lot about it. He said, man, I ain't going back over there. He said, man, I said, I don't want no part of them. And as far as I know, if he's seen anything else, he's never said nothing else to me about it.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh, y'all. I'm so sorry. Right. Thank God I had the mute button pushed. My lightning crashed right. It felt like it hit the house just then. It was so loud. It rocked the entire house just then. That is wild. Do you think those were Bigfoot? I mean, not Bigfoot. Do you think those were Dogmen?
I wonder if
that's big.
I wonder if it was Dogman or maybe the top threes, because he said they had but now he said they had the ears. So at the very least it was probably top threes, but probably more than likely it was probably Dogman.
It's probably Dogman. Well, they say the Dogmen average about 7 to 9 feet tall, right, Robby?
Yep, usually. Because
I mean, the pointy ears, though. I mean, Gugwe's probably not going to have pointy ears. I don't think. I don't know.
I wouldn't think so.
I don't know. I want to thank real quick Steve Wolf. Thank you for that super sticker so much. That's so sweet of you. It says much love, good people, and Jessica, and also my favorite remote viewing friend over here. I'm just kidding. Thank you, Patrick Noble. He says that's a great show. Patrick's fun, man. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it so much.
Patrick's a jam up there now. If you anybody had never got the pleasure of camping with Patrick, they miss out.
Oh man. Well, maybe I will get to go hang out sometime, Patrick, for sure. I got to hang out with his good friends Phyllis and John at the East Alabama Bigfoot Town Hall not too long ago.
I tried to get Patrick to come down this last week. He just couldn't make it. He's still been gipped up with his leg his foot where he broke it. And so I'm hoping. Look, I'm hoping he's going to make it to Anniston, because I told Patrick Noble if he'd come to Anniston, don't get him a hotel room. He'd just come over here and stay with me a couple of days.
Oh man, that's nice. What's going on in Anniston? Do y'all have another meet and greet coming up?
No, there's a conference coming up in like June.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, well, I was just in Alabama at that East Alabama Bigfoot Town Hall not too long ago. And yeah, that was great. I could not believe the turnout too. You know, you guys have a lot. There's a lot of people very interested in Bigfoots, people having Bigfoot experiences out there. And that center, that whatever that venue was that we were at, it was literally packed wall to wall. Every seat was taken, and I could not believe how crowded it was there. It was just wild.
I watched part of that when what's his name was doing the live stream. That was pretty cool. He live streamed where Flat Rock. Yeah,
that's Bobby Dizzle. He was out there live streaming. That's right. Yep. He goes out with my team sometimes, actually. Bobby and Bob and his daughter. His daughter's friends with my son, actually. Yep. And some of them were down at the Bigfoot conference down in Jonesboro, Georgia today. So I hope everybody got home safe from that, considering we have storms. We had storms. So yeah, we like you said, I meet a ton of wonderful people at all these events, and some of them a lot of them do end up becoming like family with us too. Okay. Now I want to go back real quick because I'm still interested in this. What this fella told you? It had blue eyes. Was that blue eye shine?
That's what I asked him. I said its eyes was blue. He said, "Dude, these things was like electric blue." He said, "I'm talking about blue." Wow. And he said that thing's eyes look like. He said, "I'm not kidding." He said, "Dude, they look like they were massive, just huge." Like he said, really like those round driveway reflectors. And he was stuck on it was blue. And but look, now I'm gonna tell you, the Bigfoot that I've seen, all the eyes that I've ever seen are like they're not orange. They're more of a reddish, but they're not like super red. but no, they're more red than orange. But everything that I've ever seen has been red.
Well, see, the night we were in Moon Valley, it was a greenish yellow that DA and I saw when Doc saw them on the thermal.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it has to do with what their diet is, because Doc said that before, that tapetum lucida that has to do with the eye shine. He said a lot of that's got to do with diet. So I think that's why you see a lot of different eye shine, depending on where they're at and what area they're in, and what they eat can change the eye shine from, one variation to another. And I would say, if like a Gugwe, if it's predominantly meat eater like we think, that's probably why you would see more of a darker, like red or orange, amber.
Well, I mean, I guess that's plausible. I never thought about it, but like I said, that's, and look, I know Kumbo and them, they've talked about seeing different colors. It's just, I personally hadn't, everything I've ever seen is red.
But what you've seen is what's in your area for the most part. So they're going to eat the same. Yeah, that's what they've got to eat around there. So that's probably why that's all you've ever seen is that family group's always. But now I've seen them in different areas. And that's why I've seen different color eye shine. Because the eye shine that I saw in the LBL was bright green. I mean, like luminescent green. But
really?
what we saw in Moon Valley was more of a light, like almost like a lime green, or like it had a yellow mix to it.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that was a Bigfoot in LBL.
Probably not. I mean, I know there's Bigfoot up there. I've been up there. I've been to the LBL 4 different times over the last 5 years, and that's a cool place. And it's creepy. It's got a big creep factor to it.
I have not been there yet. I'm not. But I have a trip planned now. I will be there before the end of the year, actually. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't advise that I've been through up there, which I've been through this several times here in Alabama and LBL and other places. LBL's not where you want to go with Kumbo when he whoops out the shofar horn and blows it either.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I personally, like when my team goes out and we do a lot of experiments and stuff when it comes to, the cryptid thing, and we get a lot of like UFO activity and weird stuff like that going on in addition to the Bigfoots that are out there. But we have never, there have been times where some of the guys will take like a didgeridoo or something, but the shofar, I have never taken that. To me, I'd be worried about that because I would think that it would potentially open a portal or like something negative might happen at that point. And that I get a little worried about that kind of stuff personally. But what are your thoughts on it?
I don't like it. I've witnessed it so many times, and I'm to the point of I wish Kumbo had never got one, and I wish that it wasn't out there. Everybody knows what he's done, but now there's certain things that has to be done in a certain way and certain notes with a certain stuff that's got to be done. And he spent years researching it. And to the point of I've begged him, like, look, brother, when you go on to glory, leave me the damn shofar horn out of all your possessions. He said, what are you going to do with it? I said, I'm going to drill a hole in the side of it and bolt it on the wall right here where nobody can ever blow it. I've been there.
That says a lot. That says a lot right there, actually. If it's that, that's a big deal. If you're worried about it, did the energy ramp up or something when it happened? I mean, did the energy shift where it felt negative?
You never know what it's going to do, but it intensifies. And I'm telling you, I thought we was going to get pulled apart. I thought we was going to get pulled apart right here at Wheeler Wildlife Refuge here in Decatur, Alabama one night. He had one come in, and that son of a gun was not happy. It was not happy. And I'm going to tell you, when you go somewhere with, especially like Kumbo and Jimmy Osmer, and you hear him call this thing with that shofar, and the thing answers, and it sounds like it's 3/4 of a mile or a mile away, but the roar, it absolutely echoes down the Tennessee River. And then next thing you know, he calls again, and the thing sounds like it's cut the distance in half in like 2.5 minutes. And then next thing you know, You don't have to call it anymore. It's screaming and roaring as it's running to you. And you can tell that it's fixing to annihilate whatever's there. When Tim Baker looks around and goes, boys, we better go. They ain't a damn person there argues and says, no, let's see what happens. No, you're getting in the truck. You're leaving. But yeah.
Don't ask questions. Just get in the truck.
Yeah.
Well, I would be worried about the aftermath too, with especially if you're like in a national park. Let's just say where families go and there's kids, and that's just for me talking from a mom's point of view, and that's but. I don't like people living in fear or anything. I don't want people not to go to the national parks. That's where we do a lot of our research, of course. But it's, enjoy the national parks and stuff. But like I worry about that sometimes. Like some people might open something up, like a portal or something. You don't know if it didn't shut.
I'd like to give people some advice. This is just me. This is just old red belly redneck hillbilly. That's dealt with these things for a lot of years.
And you give good advice too.
You may get out and elicit a response. You get out and beat on trees and scream and yell and act stupid. Yeah, you can get a response. But I'm gonna tell you, there's certain sounds that you make that makes them react certain ways. I've witnessed that. I don't try to call them, but I go with the people that know how to call them. It's been doing it for years. And that's the reason. That's the reason if you go out with these guys, if you're lucky enough to go be invited to go personally with them, you don't record nothing. I look at these guys like brothers and they do me. I don't even record what they do. Now, once they get done doing their calls, you kick your recorder on and listen. But if they're going to do another call, you cut that recorder off. I saw that happen this last week, like last Monday night. We went and there was a guy that went. Kumbo was going to do calls. And I saw Kumbo look over and he said, did you turn your phone on? He said, yeah, I was going to record that. He said, no, you're not. He said, I don't want my calls recorded. I don't want them all over the internet. He said this is private. If you're here and you hear it, that's fine. But it's an invite to go hear it. And you're not going to hear him doing calls on show. You're not going to hear him record. That's not going to happen.
The tones and the frequencies are everything. Okay. Like it is, there's something to it. Okay. There definitely is. When you go out into the field, some people will take musical instruments. Shofar is something a little different, I think, but it just hits those notes, have you ever seen that video of that guy that does that Mongolian throat singing? And he's doing that singing, and like it looks like pale crawlers or some kind of big something crawls up in the woods behind him. It's a creepy little video there, but it's that tone. It hits a tone, and it changes all the energy in the environment. So,
well, to me, there's a lot of people they're wanting an encounter so bad that they'll absolutely throw caution to the wind and go out there and just try anything and try everything all at one time. My best advice is go somewhere that you are pretty confident that let's just say that you're confident there's these animals are there or these beings are there. Go there, do you a little bit of research, spend some time, look around. Try to go in there and not do nothing. Just go there. Go there and be quiet. Go there and count. Go there and basically play like you're oblivious to these things being there. Then that's when they're going to come because they're curious. They're going to come check you out. Don't line up all kind of lights and cameras and recorders and go in there with, bazookas hanging out off your shoulder. That's probably not how you're going to get an encounter. If you go in there and act like you don't know nothing about them, don't impose. Just put your boots on the ground. But I'm going to tell you, going in somewhere, for me, I'll just tell you, this is my opinion. It's worked really good because I've been around it a lot. It's not really wise to go hiking a really long way from a vehicle and try to piss them off.
Yeah, unless you can run real quick.
I promise you're not going to outrun one. You couldn't outrun one on a dirt bike.
No. Robby and I know about that a little bit. We know because we had those encounters together where we, and we were just sitting there talking, and here's the thing, like, that's what I always tell people too, Greg, is that you don't have to go out there searching for them. Usually we have more activity at base camp than we do with the people that are out hiking the woods at night. And because they love to come down and we are their entertainment. Okay. They love to come down and watch us and throw rocks at us and whatever, and let us know they're there, even though nobody's ever been hit. There was one night though, y'all, where we had something scream at us in the base camp up in North Georgia, and it all night it threw rocks and acorns at our tents all night. It didn't stop until the sun came up, but it didn't hit us. But it was hitting our tents and stuff. Pardue knows. David Pardue's in the chat. What's up, David Pardue? He's going to be at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference with me next weekend. But yeah, you sit at base camp, y'all. Sit at base. Go camping. Act normal. Okay. I used to tell my friends whenever a cop would ride by, y'all are cops. I'd be like, y'all act normal. I'm just kidding. But anyways, yeah, I'm not kidding actually. Yeah. Act normal, whatever normal is. But you just act normal. You do your own thing, be loud. That's what me and Robby were doing, right? Robby, we were just sitting there. We went up to this one particular spot, not too far from where, I do some research and stuff, and we were up there, and it was so weird, Robby, because remember the crickets were chirping really loud, and that was very unusual, and just really loud bugs and stuff. And so Robby and I were screaming over those bugs, and all of a sudden the bugs stopped, and Robby and I were still screaming. It was weird, right, Robby?
I'll tell you something that's drawing them in for us a lot of times. It's just talking and laughter. Mm-hmm. I don't know what they're gonna come see what's going on. We had them come in right here to my cabin. It was the SAS group, the Southern Appalachian Sasquatch Seekers, SASS, which is Misty Haynes, my co-host on WoodWalkerz, is Misty, her two aunts, Sherry and Donna, and then her sister Caitlin. It's just a bunch of women they live in Northeast Tennessee. Well, they came down here, and we sat on my porch right here. And one night when we had massive encounters to the point of having a rock thrown out of the woods and go right by my porch, seeing red eyes shine in the woods. And I'm like, look, y'all, don't shine the light on it. Just let it come up close as it wants to get to the porch light. Let's see what happens. The thing broke some limbs at the edge of my yard. They found stick structures. It stomped down a couple of bushes, threw a rock out of the woods. What we were doing to draw it in was playing Jenga. On my porch, on the picnic table, and laughing. We'd been out there eating. We'd been out there for hours. We was playing, like, I forgot what we was playing, card games. We was playing board games, Jenga. They were interested. I mean, it was a couple of us guys, and then the rest of them was women, and everybody was cutting up, and we was having a good time. We wasn't we were Bigfooting without Bigfooting. Does that make sense?
Yes, you were. You were acting normal and waiting for something to happen. So Jenga and then peeing off the porch. Those are the two ways to bring them in. I'm messing with you. That's funny. Now, Larry has a question, Greg. Howse, do you know who the Bigfoot Outlaws are? Oh, yes, I know. Okay.
I knew who they were before they had their breakup. Wakumbo split out, but I didn't get Wakumbo till after, probably, it wasn't long after they had the Outlaws kind of split apart. But yeah, I'm very familiar who they are.
Okay. Well, that was a good question. I hope that answered your question, Larry. Yeah. I just got 2 messages from my friends saying I needed to go take shelter. Okay. But I don't hear anything. I think the worst of the storm actually already passed over my house, I think. So
don't get blown away.
It's quiet. It's real quiet outside right now. Things were, y'all, I promise I have the mute button pushed. If y'all have only heard the things that have been banging around this office this entire night that we've been on this show, it's been wild. But hey, we're here. I think we're good. I'm sure my son's right here. If something happens, he'll tell me. We'll hop off here. But nonetheless, man, this has been a wild show, y'all. This has been really fun. Now, we still have people in the chat, Greg, asking for your motorcycle story. Do you want to tell us your motorcycle story, or do you not want to talk about it? It's up to you.
I'll tell it, but
Okay. There's a lot of people that want to hear it tonight because it keeps coming up, and I don't know what the story is.
And here's the deal with the whole motorcycle story. I didn't even see that one. That was not my eyes on Class A sightings, and I've had 4 really good ones of those. And I've had several where I've got kind of glimpses, but I don't count those. Like I'd see something go behind a tree or, stick up and go back down in the bushes or something, or I'd see a limb moving and could tell something was there. I usually don't even talk about those. But I had 4, just absolutely no way you could deny what I was looking at. Really great encounters. Eyewitness encounters that nothing between me and them but air. Encounters people would pay $1 million for. I've had 4 of them. And that nothing that I've ever had happen to me dealing with these things, including being bluff charged, scared me like what I'm about to tell you, to the point of when this was over, I had nightmares for months. I would wake up, horrible dreams. I mean, just terrible. I mean, horrible. And I've been law enforcement 16 years. I mean, I've been on drug raids, felony warrants, been shot at, had knives pulled on us, a little bit of everything. I've never, not one time been as afraid in my life as I was in the woods, just about 1.25 miles right over here through the woods. We went in, me and my buddy Alan had been hunting that. We'd been hunting that land for several years and dealing with these boogers. And, I'd done kind of figured them out to some extent. Well, the deer, it was kind of crazy that year. They weren't really coming into green fields that much. And I figured out what they were doing. They were coming through on the property line and they were going into some hardwoods, eating acorns. And I guess they was coming in the fields. They was coming in after dark. Well, I knew that joining that property, there was an old, and basically what it wasn't even a log road. It was a wagon trail. You could see the little narrow, the tracks was really close, and they were deep and skinny, and probably there from the mid 1800s. And when you go beside this property that my cousin owned, if you go back in there a couple 100 yards, you going in, it was big. I'm talking about big, gigantic pine trees. You're walking through those, and to your right is this thicket. You're on this property line. Well, the thicket keeps going, and it goes 1/4 mile. It goes off the mountain to the river. Well, after you walk about 200 yards in these big pines, it opens up into big, gigantic hardwoods. So you got kind of like a triangle, or not a triangle, but like 3 different diversity of timber. You got this big overgrowth thicket. Then from here to the creek or the river was hardwood, and it went off the hill, this big hollow. And then from here back out to the gravel road was big giant pines with a lot of underbrush, vines and saplings and dogwoods, and it wasn't open by no means. These big pines were so big, it would be like 60 foot to a limb. So there was a lot of sunlight could come under it, and it had actually opened up, or not opened up, but closed up with vegetation. Well, I told Alan, I said, look, if you want to go get in that upper field, go get in that stand. I'm going to walk up the road about 100 yards, and I'm going to hit that old wagon trail, and I'm going to go in there and look where when you got into these hardwoods, it's on a ridge, and there's an old house place because there's some fruit trees, there's some walnut trees, and there's an old dug well that's caved in. Well, if you go up there, I could sit on the side of that where it rolls off and down this hollow, and then the hollow goes down into the main river. I told him, I said, look, these deer have been skirting this property. I'm going to go right there through this thicket. You're going to be about 200 yards from me. But I can't walk through that because it'd be like walking through this wall right here. I said, I'm going to sneak around. I'm going to go through that it's a pear orchard. I'm going to go through it. And I said, the pears are gone, but I'm going to go through it. And those deer are still hitting acorns. So I go over there and I clean out this spot by this big pine tree. And I'm just going to sit on the ground. Well, I get over there, sneak in, clear it out, sitting on the ground. I've got my Browning rifle laying on my lap. I'm sitting there, been sitting there for a couple of hours. Hadn't saw a deer, hadn't heard a deer. I don't even know if I saw a squirrel. This is 30 minutes before dark, I guess. Over my left shoulder. Now I'm looking off down in this ravine, this big hollow, and all these big open hardwoods. And I'm just sitting there, I'm laid back against the tree with my hands on my rifle. Back up on the U.S. highway that is a mile from where I'm sitting, but it's up the river. I hear somebody with a motorcycle. Now, it doesn't sound like a crotch rocket, like a Ninja or Hayabusa or something like that. This sounds like a 700 Honda or something, you know, like a cruising bike. I mean, I ain't gonna say a gull wing, but whatever this bike was, it's like it didn't have a muffler at all. It was like it's straight pipes. Now it wasn't don't like a Harley. This dude was like his motorcycle's messing up, and it's like he's pulled over on the side of the road. And you hear him like revving it up like it's flooding, and he's cleaning it out. And he's going, "Whoa, my, whoa, my, whoa, my." When he lets off of that throttle after it makes all that racket, right over my shoulder. Now look, I'm about 30 yards from where the timber goes from this big open hardwood to the big pines with all this underbrush and all this vines and saplings and dogwoods and all this bramble. Right over my left shoulder, right behind me, kind of a little bit off, there is the most god-awful, blood-curdling. It wasn't a scream and it wasn't a roar. This thing started off like the deepest bass sound ever. And I tell people it was a bella, roar, scream, howl. That thing would rumble, and it wouldn't change like a breath of air. It was one breath of air, and this thing was like, it ain't going to quit. It's not going to quit. I mean, my God, how big are its lungs? This thing starts off kind of like, and at the end, it would pop like a whip. It would crack so loud. I'm talking about, I go from sitting on the ground, it's like, I'm like a jack in the box. I've bounced up, I've grabbed my orange off my head, I've shoved it, I either shoved it in my bib overalls or I shoved it in my jacket on the inside. But I was trying to hide anything that was going to make me stand out. I'm behind this big pine tree, and I am terrified. I'm talking about absolutely losing my mind. I'm going to die. I've put it together by the time that thing's not screaming at me. It's mad because that motorcycle's made this loud noise. And I am in a sheer panic of, oh my God, what do I do?
Wow.
This thing starts tearing the woods apart. I'm talking about it's breaking limbs, sound like they're that big. It's stomping and it's pacing about 20, 25 foot back and forth and back and forth. And I'm watching a dogwood tree that the base of it's probably this big around. It's like a big coffee can or bigger. This tree's 30, 35 feet tall, and I'm watching it, and this tree is whooping back and forth and back and forth. It's going round and round and flashing. It's like I could not take my Dodge four-wheel drive extended cab truck with a log chain and ram and jerk that tree and do what I watched happen. I'm watching this dogwood just, it would be like me, a 200-pound, 6'1" guy, grab a sapling this big around and trying to jerk it. That's what I witnessed, this tree. I couldn't hit it with my bulldozer and do what that thing was doing. And my dozer's about the size of a D3. I watched this tree. I'm waiting on it to snap and absolutely explode. The thing gets calmed down, and I can still hear it over, but it's not roaring. It's not breaking stuff. And I'm going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I'm hiding. I've got my rifle. I'm up and I'm leaning against a tree and I'm peeping out, looking. And I'm trying to, all these plans are coming in my head. If that thing steps out, what am I going to do? What is it going to do when it sees me? Can I hide? Is it going to know? Does it know I'm here? I don't think so, but I don't know. So in my mind, it's like somebody's got a remote control going blip, 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 blip. I'm doing 28 scenarios at one time on what I've got to do. If this happens, I'm going here. If this happens, I go there. If this happens, and I'm going this way, and if that happens, I got to go do this. I know Robby knows exactly what I'm talking about. He's done it policing. Before you get on the scene, your mind's done thought of 47 different outs that you're going to do, where you've at least maybe got an outlet that's going to save your life.
Yep.
So I'm absolutely in a sheer panic on, oh my God, this thing is upset. I am sitting there and this thing sets off again. The guy revs the motorcycle, goes right through that again. Same thing. 1 mile.
Damn it, man.
1 mile. 3, 2, 1. The whole bella, roar, scream, howl again. That thing, the volume of this thing. If you went to a CSX railroad locomotive and stood and you could touch your finger to the front bumper, the plow on that locomotive, if the engineer pulled the horn on that train, is about the volume that I was hearing from less than 100 feet away. It was like when that thing would do the bell roar scream howl, like my clothing was flopping.
Oh
They
my
were
God.
told that when that noise would ramp up. It didn't do it from the start to the end, but somewhere in the middle, it would hit a pitch that it would blur my vision, like my eyeballs were vibrating. It was like you were looking through binoculars and rolled them out of focus and back into focus. It was blurring my vision when this thing would hit that part of that note.
Oh my God.
And it kept going and going and going and going. I'm talking about conservatively 12 to 15 Mississippi county. It's like this thing's lungs has got to be this big. It's not going to quit. My buddy Alan has texted me. My phone's in my shirt pocket, and I had an old flip phone, and it's going zzz, zzz, zzz. And I'm afraid because I'm concentrating here, I'm not wanting to die. I've done devising a plan of how's old Greg going to live. And the bad part, I can't go to my buddy because this is like going through this ball for 200 yards. The only way I can go out is go in here, and the booger is here. If I had went out the old wagon trail, I would have went within 25 yards of where this booger was. I would have had to went toward him to get out of where I was. I had no escape. The only thing I could do was go a quarter of a mile off the mountain through all these big leaves. It's going to make all this racket.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to go to the river and loop around basically a half a mile to get back up to my truck. That's not an option. My best option is sit here and be quiet and be ready and try to not breathe no harder than I had to. Alan texts me. He's like, just had the letter U space OK. I got my phone. I'm like holding my rifle, and I go HLLNO send. I sent it. It wasn't 10 seconds. It comes back, said ON space WAY.
Oh,
He was on his way. He was coming to me. He could hear everything that's happening. I'm 200 yards.
he knew where you were exactly?
Oh, he knew exactly where I was. He knew exactly where I was going.
Yeah.
You know, he'd been out there with me before to where that old house place was, and I told him, I said, look, dude, I'm gonna go out here to the old house place. I'm gonna sit on the ground, I'm gonna watch that hardwood. He knew, and he knew sitting in the stand that it's right there over, through this thicket, but you had to loop around to get out there. It's about 300 yards or so from the truck. And Al climbed down out of that stand and was slowly sneaking stealthily, trying to sneak up to see if I was going to be alive or dead when he got there.
Oh.
And y'all, the most horrid part of this was I had all these encounters for all these years before that happened. And most of the time when the boogers would come in and they would be peaceful and they would let you know they was there and they would leave. Or if they were belligerent and they left before I did, they would always leave and go toward the river. They would drop off that mountain, and when they'd leave, they'd always leave. I'd say 85% of the time they would leave and go toward the river. Well, in my mind, all this is kicking on me that this thing is right here. I mean, it's in front of me, the river's behind me. Oh no. If it gets done throwing its little temper tantrum and it goes toward the river, it's going to pop out of this growed up mess under these big pines. It's going to pop out in these hardwoods, and I'm going to be the first thing it sees that's out of place. I don't know how to hide. I ain't got time to be digging no damn hole. I was wanting to just melt, soak in the ground. But I mean, I've done got my rifle safety flipped, and I've got my finger beside the trigger. And I'm like, okay, what I do? And I'm like, well, I got 5 shots in this 30-06. And if I can't drop it, I ain't got long. It's going to be on me. So I hold my rifle with my shoulder and my left arm. I'm holding it. And I reach down and I unbuckle the snap on that shoulder holster with that. I've got a 686 Combat Plus revolver, holds 7 rounds, 357 Magnum. And it's been through a custom shop, and I've killed 13 deer with that pistol. I hunt with a lot.
Wow.
And I know what I can do with it, and I've shot a bunch of deer that's running with a handgun, that handgun.
Wow.
So I'm thinking my best choice is when I empty these 5 rounds out of this rifle, the best thing I can do is swing it around, jerk that pistol, and go to work. You know, I know I've got 5 and 7, so I got 12 opportunities to make something happen, and hopefully if I poke enough holes in this damn thing, it's going to at least run out of steam or back off. I mean, I'm running through all these scenarios in my head. Oh, okay, well, you know, you're thinking something like, "Look, scrap that. Nope, let's go this. Nope, scrap that one. Well, yeah, that'd probably work." And you're trying to guess all these scenarios and play them out in your head at warp speed, and all this stuff's happening. And y'all, my heart had to been like a hummingbird's wings. And you know, I mean, it's like my vision is, other than when it was blurring, it's like my vision cleared up. My ears are like, you know, satellite dishes. And I attribute that to adrenaline was just full force. But y'all, that motorcycle, after a few minutes, that thing had calmed down and it would get quiet. I mean, I'm sitting here, I am doing all I can do to figure out where it's at, what it's doing, and I can't hear it. I'm trying to hold my breath, trying to hear it. At the end of this, the motorcycle revs up again. And when it does the same thing, the 3, 1 mile, 1 mile, 1 mile.
Oh, God.
When that booger yells this time the same, absolutely same, bellow, roar, scream, howl. That thing sounded like it was 400 yards or more toward that motorcycle, and I never heard it leave.
Going towards it.
How in the world it made it that far is beyond me. I would have bet that you couldn't have made it that far on a motorcycle that quick.
Wow.
But instantly, I like leaned my head into that tree and like, thank you, Lord. And I took a breath, and I'm trying to slow my heart rate down. I'm done getting lightheaded. And I'm like, I've got to get the hell out of here. I know Al's coming, or he said he was. I've got to get out of here. Y'all, I went across those big leaves as quiet and silently as I could. And I've stalked up on a lot of deer, and I know how to walk quiet in the woods. But when I got to that pine straw that was through that pine thicket on that old wagon trail, I've told this over and over. I think I was like Fred Flintstone when he'd get on his tippy toes, and it was like real quick. That's the way I went out of there. I went as quiet and as quick as I could. When I got to where that old wagon trail went into that rock road, when I got right there and looked, there my old buddy Allen was. He had his rifle up, and he was scanning, and he seen me, and I seen him. And you talking about a sigh of relief just to see another human being. There's back up. He's come to me. I come staggering out of the woods. I got my rifle, and by then I flipped it back on safety. He said, "Are you all right?" I said, "I don't know yet." So let's get to the truck. It was about 100 yards from the truck then. We got to my truck, and he's trying to ask me questions. I said, "Man, I'll tell you in a minute. We got to my truck. I opened the driver's door. I stuck the barrel down in the floorboard and laid the rifle up on the seat. He's asking me, he's like, "Man," he's like, "Dude, you're white as a ghost. You all right? You all right?" And y'all, honestly, I'm not sure that any of my blood was going above my heart to my head. Oh, I stood there, and I either had the seat, the bottom of the seat, and the door handle, or I had the steering wheel and the door handle. But y'all, my stomach turned over that quick, just snout. I bowed up, puked. And then I wiped my mouth. Next thing I know, I puked again. Y'all, my stomach was turned upside down, and all I can tell you is I had a full-blown adrenaline dump right there. I mean, now once I threw up, I was fine. I kind of calmed down. I was okay. But I have never had that level of fear on anything I've ever done. Nothing, ever in my life. And look, I didn't even go. I've tried to hold out from going plumb back, reliving that, because if I go too far, I'll have nightmares for a damn month. But y'all kind of got the Cliff Notes version. I've told it in more detail. I can't do it right now.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for telling us.
I've heard the detailed one, and it's scary on the end when you didn't even go through it.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, seriously, I can't. I've messed around and let myself tell it in harder detail. And if I do, I tend to go back into it. I can't help it. So I have to be careful, honestly, when I tell. I wish right now somebody could put a blood pressure cuff on me right now, heart rate.
I can't imagine. You know, Greg, there was one time the scariest, whenever somebody asked me what's the scariest predicament I've ever been in out in the field doing Bigfooting, and no matter what cryptids we're chasing after, it was one night we were up in North Georgia, and my team, I had a whole team up there, but there were probably maybe 10 of us at the most up there. And we all had our tents kind of close together because we were actually, this is one of the places that's real dangerous, and it's very active with a lot of kind of bad, I don't know, it's just a bad vibe up there. And so we were a little closer with our tents than normally were. And at some point in that night, something screamed at us, just like how you described, right behind my tent, where I was going to be sleeping that night. And it ran, and as it was screaming, it was running, and it ran up to this little trail. And that was the night that we had acorns and rocks thrown at our tents all night. But that had to have been the scariest thing, because it was right there where we were going to be sleeping. And also because it was the sound, and the way you described that is interesting, because what it sounded like to me when this thing screamed, it wasn't human, and it wasn't an animal. It was something I never heard before. Yeah. And it sounded like a woman that was like mad and in distress, but it wasn't a woman. It was just weird. It wasn't an animal of any type. It was all very just concerning for all of us.
When I say bellow, roar, scream, howl, let me kind of emphasize on that. Think of anybody that's grew up in the country around cattle. Wintertime, it's really cold, and you go put hay out. An old Brahma bull, they'll stretch their neck out because they're hungry, and they'll bellow. Oh. Mm-hmm. That's what it started. It started out a bellow like a bull, like a big bull. I'm not a 2,000-pound bull bellowing. Started out like a bellow. And that thing ramped up into a roar, it went from a bellow to a roar. And it's going slow, changing tones. And it went from that roar, like a lion roaring, into like a man, like a really big man screaming. And then it went into like a woman screaming. Then it went into like a howl, like a wolf, or basically a cow, more like a cow howl. And when that thing would peak, when it would hit that top part, I still don't understand. It was nearly like a whip cracking. It was like a cut off so abrupt. It was almost like a crack at the end, but it went from this super deep bellow through that roar, scream, roar, howl, and when it topped out, it would absolutely like a whip cracking. And I mean, it was horrible. I don't care about hearing anything like that ever again.
That's horrible.
Especially by myself over there where I was at. Mm-hmm. But I give Al credit. That some gun knew he was coming into something horrible, but he was coming. And thank God it was over by the time he got there. But now I'm telling you, that's when you know you got a true buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Which I've done the same thing for him too, though.
Well, that's something that I always tell everybody: don't ever go in the woods alone. And I know this, it's not, a lot of guys, especially hunters, are going to go by themselves. Okay. And, but it's always a lot of hunters that have the Bigfoot sightings when they're by themselves too. So, you know, it is what it is. I kind of Misty's in the chat. What's up, Misty? She says, Roger, I'd rather be in a tent than a hammock. Airspace in between makes me feel safer. Well, you know what? I have definitely when we go backpacking and like hiking in that Dogman investigation I went on, I have a hammock set up. And let me tell you, it is I try not to have any fear. Okay, when I'm out there, I just don't. I'm not scared, but it is a little more uncomfortable when you're in what I call a Bigfoot burrito, hanging in between two trees like that. It's not. Yeah, it's a little unnerving at night. So, yeah, it's good to have somebody that stays up and keeps watch. And somebody else in the chat asked if I got any sleep that night when that happened to me. No, the answer is no. I did not sleep at all. I laid my butt down in my tent and I stayed up all night listening, and everybody in my team did. We all stayed up, and I remember the head of my team, one of the guys was like, remember, we do this for fun. Like he like whispered it to me and I could hear him. I was like, screw you. But anyways, it could be, you know, it's not for the faint of heart. Okay. And the things that, you know, I go out there looking for it. That's what I do. Robbie and I both go out there looking for it. Greg, I mean, you go out there looking for it now, kind of, I guess, you know, but you weren't really looking for all that back when that happened.
I don't get out and, you know, stomp around the woods and stuff. I really don't have to. And when I go boogering, I mean, usually it'll be Coonbo call, say, hey, dude, let's go boogering, and me and Jimmy Osmer and him and maybe a couple more go. We hadn't really done a lot in the last couple of years because everybody's been busy, and I broke my leg, and then I wound up had to have an ankle replaced with titanium, and I've been on the wounded list for a couple of years. So, you know, I'm getting back better now. Everything's healing up. The doctors are going to go back 6 months for hopefully one more check, but I'm going to do some more. And look, I mean, I've been trying to get and here's the cool thing for me. I've had people come here that I trust with my life, and, you know, and people that's actual researchers. They're not for fame and stuff. Roger's been here. Roger's experienced stuff here. Squatch and Holler Roger. Misty Haynes, the boogers here love her. I'm talking about love her. If she's here, we're gonna have something go on. Misty's been here. Her sister, her aunts has been here. Her sister, her uncle. Everybody's witnessed stuff. Mark Noble's been here. Mark's been here, witnessed stuff. Spencer's been here, witnessed stuff. I've had a lot of my Bigfoot buddies come here. So, you know, if people say, hey, man, we don't believe you, I'm like, hey, ask them. They were here. I'd rather you tell them anyway.
You know, it does come down to the people that are with you, too. You know, I was joking around with you a little bit before the show started tonight, and we were talking about the storm. And by the way, y'all, I am fine. My son did go call my mother just then, and she said the tornadoes have already passed. Everything has passed me now. Okay, so we're fine. When we were in the middle of our show tonight, that's when we were getting hit really hard, and I had the mute button pushed. Y'all might have seen me jump a couple of times from the lightning strikes and things hitting my house. Okay, but we're good. Everything's fine. We made it. The power's on. Hallelujah. Okay, but yeah. Oh my God, what was I just saying? I just lost my train of thought. Damn it, y'all. I had to go off on the tangent about the storm. I'm okay though. Okay, we're fine here. I totally lost my train of thought. What the hell, y'all?
Well, we were talking about people coming here. That's what I was talking about.
The people. Thank you, Greg. Okay, it's the people. I had one of those brain farts. Is what Sovereign Cosmic Wildman likes to talk about farts in my chat every time. So yes, I said fart. Okay, but it's the people. It's 100% the people that are around you. We were joking around about the lightning. That's what I was going to talk about.
Yeah.
Joking around about the storm. And I said that I'd seen you talking to somebody on a show one day, because I follow everybody, y'all. Okay. And I was watching you. You said something about you getting struck by lightning.
Mm-hmm.
And before we okay, I know this show is almost 2.5 hours, y'all. So we're not going to keep y'all here all night, I promise. But I did want to bring this up because I think that it is important when it comes to the cryptid stuff. Okay, the cryptid information. Some people, like when I go out with my team, you know, my team's all trained very in psychic spine and stuff, like remote viewing and stuff. And we are on once you start doing stuff like that, you kind of get on a different frequency. And some people say that Bigfoots and some of these cryptids are telepathic and they got that mind speak stuff going on. And And I believe it. I think we're all telepathic. We all have that ability in some form. But it's like when you're tuned into that kind of stuff, you get more activity. And I would assume, I think you said Misty is one of those people. There's certain people, when you go out in the woods with them, you're going to get more activity. And it is what it is. And so that's kind of like where my team, I feel like every single person on my team, and David Pardue's in here, he's one of my teammates. There's a lot of people that you go out with us, you're going to get more activity. Okay. And it's like, as a team, we get more activity out there. That's just the thing. But see, you've talked about it before, I know, publicly, because I heard you talk about you getting struck by lightning. And there's a lot of people in this Bigfoot community that have been struck by lightning. Like, what are the odds of that? Like, what do you think that's about?
We've been trying to put it together. Me and Coon both talked about it. Me and Troy Allen and Coon both talked about it. But like out of the top research group at Coonbo's, me, Troy Allen, Cheryl Corntassel, a bunch of us, I mean, there was like 8 out of the 10 of us has been hit by lightning. I've been hit twice. Some of us, there's more than me, has been hit twice. I mean, what's the odds of that?
It is crazy.
Let's just say you got, 12 guys, and, even 8 out of 12 that's got, you've been brought together by your experiences with Bigfoot. It like mentioned it that, we were out fixing to go do some booger, and I'm like, guys, look, I really wish, as a matter of fact, I said, look, why don't we let this storm go ahead and blow on over? Because I'm a little giddy when it comes to lightning. And they're like, why? I said, because I've done been hit twice, and that shit hurts really bad, and I don't want to go for round 3. And they all went, what? Well, yeah. They said, we got to talk about this. And then they go to come and clean. It's like, look, he's been hit by lightning. He's been hit by lightning. He's been hit by lightning. And then some more of them in the group's like, well, I've been hit by lightning too. This is what happened to me, and this is what's happened to me. And it's like, this is like better odds of winning the lottery multiple times than everybody in this group that's been brought together by experience of Bigfoot been all hit by lightning. So
the odds are it's just wild. I don't think I've met one single person that's ever been hit by lightning until I met you that I know of. And then to hear that Mark Green's been hit by lightning. Okay.
Yeah.
Like Mark Kubo, like how many, so all these people have been hit by lightning, and there's people that you're friends with, people that I know. That is, I mean, that is wild. There's got to be something to it too. There's got to be.
We've even bounced it around. We'll be just talking. I mean, we may be on the phone, we may be in a live chat. It'll just be a private chat. We'll bounce ideas off each other, just spitballing and throw enough stuff, see what sticks. But we've even jumped out there and thought about that. Maybe it's something that our chemistry, our bodies, certain people. Maybe you've emit more negative ions that maybe we got more of a negative charge to our makeup, and that other people's more of a like positive. Is that why? Is that why that the electricity seems to be drawn to us? And it's not just the lightning. I'm talking about like when I deal with electricity, I have to be a lot more careful than other people, because I have power jump out and bite me where it won't go that far by somebody else. I don't know. And then this is I'll give Troy Allen his props on this. Like anywhere there's running water, especially a waterfall, you have a lot of negative ions. And, these things are seen a lot around waterfalls, running water. So is that something that draws them? And is it something we've even talked about? Do these things, can they recognize it in our aura? Do they pick up on our electrical field?
Yes.
Is it visual? Is it, mental? I don't know.
It is. It's energetic. Listen, everything is all about energy, frequency, and vibration. And we were talking about the tones with the shofar. We're talking about the tones with portals opening. We've talked about the motorcycle. To that Bigfoot's defense, I cannot stand hearing loud motorcycles in the mountains either. Okay. Yeah. It's so annoying, especially when you're up there trying to relax and you just hear it sounds like bees buzzing everywhere. No offense to the people with motorcycles, it's fine, but I'm just saying I can understand. Yeah. I think it's like almost like a dog whistle or something to the Bigfoots. They don't like that sound.
Well, I can tell you this: some else they don't like tornado sirens. They don't like big trucks when they turn the engine brakes on. They do not like emergency vehicle sirens. And they dang sure do not like it when you have a low-flying Air Force jet that comes by just above the treetops. That'll set them off big time.
Oh wow! Oh my gosh! They just don't like those loud noises and stuff.
Nope.
That's wild that you've experienced that. Like you've had enough experiences to where you know what they like and what they don't.
Everything that I just told you about, I've been in the woods. Truck go off this hill right here, and the engine brakes kick on. The engine brakes would be bellowing as soon as they'd quit. You'd have a booger. He wouldn't do the bellow, roar, scream, howl, but a lot of times they would scream really bad. I mean, like, it wouldn't be as violent as the one with the motorcycle. But I've had them police sirens go down the road, be wailing. By the time they go out of here, the boogers start screaming and getting loud. Yep. Jet airplane. We had it said, was it like U.S. Postal Service or something? One of those, like an Air Force jet would come through. I guess it was airmail, but that thing would come through and it wouldn't be 300 foot up, off the ground. That thing blow through, and when it wouldn't be just a second, then boogers would start screaming. A lot of things set them off. Lots of things.
Oh my gosh. I think Robin had put something, I put it up on the screen and I forgot what the number was. It was like chances of getting struck by lightning are like 1 in a million. So that's wild. Robby, have you been struck by lightning?
Nope.
Okay, I just had to check.
I've been popped a few times as an electrician, but I never been struck by lightning.
Oh, lightning.
Here it is. It's Robin Ray. She says, per CDC, chances of being struck by lightning are less than 1 in a million.
Well, I promise you, when we all put this together and started putting it together, we all been hit by lightning. We were all just like, we don't understand it, but this has got to have something to do with something. We just don't know what. We don't know what.
Well, I'm going to make a note of that because I think that's important. I might take that back to my team, okay, and let them know. All these crazy dudes like Bigfoot that I know have all been struck by lightning. What are the chances? Like, that is just wild. And I mean crazy in a good way. Okay. That's wild. That struck by lightning though. Okay. Well, this has just been a totally amazing, fascinating show today. And Greg and Robby, I want to thank both of y'all for being here. This has been a lot of fun. And,
I appreciate you having me. I mean, maybe I didn't bore everybody to death. And
no, Lord knows.
If they've heard some of my stuff, maybe if they heard some of my stuff or not, but they can go back when I really started talking about my stuff and really started doing it. They can go back on Sawdust Beast with Mark Larry and episode 138. This is when I first done a show with them. I had done only a couple of shows for different people before that over many years. I didn't want to talk about it, and Mark and Larry sweet talked me into coming on there and talking, and it kind of went from there, and that's how I got hooked up with Spencer and Misty. And y'all, I mean, just unreal. I've got family, extra family. I mean, I tell Misty all the time, she's like a sister that I always wanted. So it just, it's hard to even explain how close we all are. And that I'm truly thankful. And I thank the Lord every day for that.
Well, I'm thankful that you're here, and you too, Robby. And I can't wait to meet you in person someday, Greg. And we'll all hang out and do some wood walking. How about that? We'll do some wood walking out there.
And like I said, somebody that hadn't checked us out, it's WoodWalkerz with a Z. And check us out on YouTube. We go live usually every Sunday at 1:30 Central PM. Y'all go check us out. And we're a long way from professional. We don't we're just like us around the campfire most of the time. We do have some good guests. We got some good stuff coming up for tomorrow, I think. And but y'all come check us out. And we do have a Facebook page. But if you go on our Facebook page and try to join, you're gonna have 3 little questions that it wants you to answer. Please answer them, because if you don't, we think you're a bot and you get kicked out. So go check us out.
Good advice, everybody. Yes, I'm a member of your group on Facebook. I'm trying to slim down all the groups I'm in on Facebook, but I'm staying at WoodWalkerz, man. Y'all are awesome over there. So that's amazing. Everybody, please go subscribe to WoodWalkerz on YouTube. It's one word and with a Z. Y'all go subscribe. I know, Greg, my moderators were putting your links in the chat the whole show. So hopefully everybody that's been watching. We had a big crowd tonight too. Thank you everybody for being here so much. And hopefully everybody's gone over there and subscribed tonight. And speaking of subscribing, Robby, what do you have going on? I know DA's probably going to be getting back in the saddle here.
Yep, that's
a book. You got a book we need to promote tonight.
That's why I was just getting ready to say. DA was just texting me, telling me to tell everybody, hey,
DA.
He didn't get a chance to watch it because he's finishing up the move. Hopefully, the internet will be set up Tuesday. And this is all hopeful, so don't put it in stone yet. But hopefully, we'll be back on Wednesday night. That's the plan anyway. And hopefully, we'll be back Wednesday, Saturday, and maybe Sunday for the RRA, Greg's favorite, the Redneck Reading Association.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So you can, if we're back on and we're going, you can get us every Wednesday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night at 9 o'clock Central. Excuse me, 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central. I get it in a minute. It's 2 time zones throw me off. Anyway, it's hard enough to keep up with one, much less 2. Also, Jessica's talking about my first book is out now.
Yay!
And still going strong. And
it is good too, y'all.
I'm about 24,000 words into the second book. Greg's, like I said, Greg's one of my wolf pack readers, so he's been helping keep me on track on it, and it's getting pretty close. I think I'm in chapter. I've just finished chapter 9, Greg, isn't that what the last one was?
Yeah, you think 8 or 9 one. Look, I'm like jonesing. He's feeding me a little scout, bringing me back.
He's breadcrumbing you.
I'm like, golly, babe. I've sat here and wait for 3 or 4 days, and I'm like, man, I wish he'd hurry up. I mean, I'm never texting. Are you sure you're busy? Can you hurry up? And look, I'm just gonna tell y'all
a little taste.
Yes, look, yeah. I mean, he learned from having to arrest all them drug dealers. I mean, right? You just give them a little piece and they go come back.
Greg's feeding over there, man. He's needing another chapter, Robby. I can't another chapter. You got any more of those chapters?
That's it. But now let me tell y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and give y'all a little hint here.
I need some more chapters.
Y'all ain't gonna never look. You ain't gonna see this one coming. When you see the villains, plural, in this one, y'all gonna be like, what? Because that's what I did. I'm just telling you, that's what you're gonna do. And y'all gonna like it. I promise.
Greg saw a sneak peek of the cover. Pretty cool, ain't it?
Yes, it is.
As Beautiful T Justice will say, that's an attention grabber.
That's an attention grabber.
Yep.
I can't wait to see that. Man, I'm so proud of you, Robby. I'm so glad you wrote a book. Another one.
DA he's pushing along with Lakeview Man Dead of Winter. That should be coming out pretty soon too.
Yep.
So look for both of those to be coming out before too long. Hopefully, like I said, we'll be back on next week and be back going strong. Thank you, Robin. Appreciate that. I learned from the best, and
you do.
I make no bones about this. I've had that story or a version of that story rolling around in my head for 20 plus years. And people say, well, why did it take you so long? Well, it took me so long because I didn't know what I was doing. But being friends with DA, reading his books, learning from him showed me how I needed to write. Because Greg can tell you this. I'm one of my own worst critics.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think it's that good. And they're like, dude, this is really good. And DA's like, for a debut book from a debut author, he said, I was light years ahead of where he was when he wrote his first one. And that to me is humbling, because if I can write half as good as DA, then I'm happy, because he writes the kind of books that I want to read. And that's what I tell you. And, listening to Greg saying, man, these are the kind of books that I like. And I was like, that's what I want to write. I want to write the books that people like me want to read. And that's what I've tried to do. And I've tried to follow the lead that DA has. And Greg will tell you, there's not just the villains in this book is going to be a surprise. There's going to be some other things that are going to throw some people, because DA and I have been kind of working on something that It's gonna catch some people off guard. They'll be like, because Greg texted me and he was like, "Really? Are you serious?"
Yeah. That's some characters showed up, and I was like slammed. Like, what? Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I can't wait.
There's DA. He's in. He made it.
There he is.
Oh, there's DA. What's up, DA? Thank you for being here.
Yep. So yeah, anybody?
I'll go check out his books, everybody.
Yes, please look. Go check his books out. Buy them things because you ain't gonna regret it. I mean, it took me a little bit to get hooked on phonics where I could rate them pretty good, but watch me go.
Hooked on phonics worked for me. I remember DA's website. It's daroberts.net. Okay, y'all go to daroberts.net. Check out DA's books. We also have, we got Eric in the chat too. We got E.D. Testerman. He's an author as well. Yeah. He's got a podcast. Y'all go check out his books as well. I'm sure there's a lot of authors in here. And Misty, I saw your comment. I would love to do a girls trip. So holler at me, okay? Holler at me. We'll do a Bigfoot girls trip anytime. Well, I mean, we'll get a date. How about that? Let's get a date together. Let me know when y'all are going. I'll be there.
Well, what you need to do is, if nothing else, we need to get you on one of our. See, me and Misty, not only we do the WoodWalkerz, but we kind of got a spinoff that's still under the WoodWalkerz name called Night Owls, OWLZ.
I saw that. I think they were talking about in the chat about going doing a show after this one tonight. Is that Night Owls?
I hadn't talked to Misty. I don't know if she wants to do a show or not. I'm game on. I don't care. But knowing her, she probably won't to. But anyway. But no, we get a little more, having a little more fun. It's a little more us, and we just try to. Roger, I'm ready. We're going to girls trip. You get your wife and my wife to let us. We'll load it up.
Roger wants to do a girls trip. If anybody's listening, we're on podcast too, by the way. So some people can't see us, can't see the comments. So I have to kind of read them out loud to know what people are talking about. Roger from Squatch and Holler wants to do a girls trip with Greg. Everybody, okay, that's what it was. Roger's fun.
Roger's something else, and y'all, he's getting better with his hip. He had that hip replacement. He'd been getting around, looked like White Earp shot him in the hip, but he's doing better now.
Oh my gosh, DA said once we're finished with the move, I'm planning on going back to Moon Valley.
Thermal don't lie. That's Doc would say.
Oh my gosh.
Look, I get the invite to go somewhere. All I'm telling you, I'm like that old show. Have gun, we'll travel.
I never go anywhere without mine. Okay, so I get it. And man, y'all, this has been a great show. This audience is just off the chain. Y'all are amazing. Thank y'all so much for being here tonight. I've got a torrential downpour happening outside, so I'm just going to go ahead. Let's go ahead and say goodbye tonight because I have a weird feeling the power may not stay on all night. But thank God it has lasted. What is this? 2 hours and 43 minutes.
Yep.
We have done great. And I hope everybody enjoyed the show tonight. You guys, thank you so much. Again, Greg, thank you. Thanks a million for coming on tonight. I hope this is definitely not your last time coming on. I would love to come hang out with y'all on the Night Owls anytime. Just let me know. And Robby, Robby, thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
I stole you again for 2 weekends in a row. I stole you. I stole you from DA. Thank you for letting me borrow him, DA. But yeah, hopefully you guys will be back over there on Saturday. I actually will be at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference next Saturday. I will have a show for you guys, of course. There will be a show Saturday night, but I will be gone all day throughout the day. So y'all please come see me. Let me show you one more time. I've got a flyer right here. I will be at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference. I'm their keynote speaker this year, believe it or not. And if I can find it, Stacy Brown Jr. will be there. David Pardue, who's in the chat tonight. Shout out to David Pardue. David, I saw your comment. You said that the Bigfoots can see our aura. I agree with that. I think they can too. We got the Badass Monster Hunter. My friend Matthew Delph will be there. And North Carolina Investigates. George Lunsford and Robert Effler and Tim Dills are going to be there, along with Harley Owens will probably be there as well. And a host of other folks. So y'all come out and see us on Saturday down there. And all right, well, everybody, I hope you go and subscribe to WoodWalkerz and DA Ex Machina. Do y'all have any final thoughts tonight, Greg? You got any final thoughts?
Final thoughts is I just appreciate everybody that's hung in here and listened to me talk again. I'm still always amazed that people even find it interesting, I just always sign off with saying, hey, big love, everybody.
Thank you. What about you, Robby? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, like if you're not subscribed to Jessica, subscribe to her. Go check the WoodWalkerz out. Great show. Come check us out at DAX Machina. Look at DA's books. Look at mine, and have fun and be safe out there.
Yeah, everybody, please be safe out there. Thank you, Greg and Robby. Y'all, please be safe. Don't live in fear. Keep your vibrations high, and come see us next time. I'll be back on Monday with a live show. Y'all, thank you so much for all the support, and we'll see y'all next time. All right, bye, everybody. Bye, y'all.
Bye.